naysayers and haters who made me one of the greatest. I know it kills you inside, that's why I do this for you. I do this for my father, who I've only seen from time to time in my dreams. I do this for you. I do this for my mother, who's finally clean, no longer a fan. I do this for you. I do this for my sister, my wife and my kids, cause they part of the team. I do this for all the naysayers and haters who made me one of the greatest. I know it kills you inside, that's why I do this for you.
I do this for the kids who sit a bit outside the mix, who maybe cope through humor just to fit in for a bit, who never let the world know when depression's setting in. To all of those who know you, that impression don't exist, and it ain't counterfeit, it's just a way to counter it. I'm living things I dreamed about, I still encounter it. It ain't something that a cigarette or alcohol can fix, but all because of it, I flipped it quick, went on to write some hits. This a success, off another breath. This the first step in searching to be nothing less than be the best in what you do to prove their strength in being you. Learn so much in chasing dreams that I never would in school. Depends on where your passion lie, just no passion never lie. Life presents distractions, but your actions have to fortify the things that you believe in. Have to scream it like a battle cry and leave the ones who didn't looking stupid while they're asking why. Couldn't lie, I really do this for the ones I love. Those who treat the music as a vice and lyrics like a drug. Those who need advice on how to lift their spirit high enough to break out of the box they make of lives they know aren't good enough. Just because it's how it is don't mean it's how it has to be. This is what the uninspired testifiers fail to see. Jealousy results from being that which others fail to be, and if it means you're not with me, that honestly sounds fair to me.
I do this for my father, who I've only seen from time to time in my dreams. I do this for you. I do this for my mother, who's finally clean, no longer a fan. I do this for you. I do this for my sister, my wife and my kids, cause they part of the team. I do this for all the naysayers and haters who made me one of the greatest. I know it kills you inside, that's why I do this for you.
Do this for my mother, she'll be working for the summer. Do this for my father, cause these days I often wonder what my life would have been like if I was not adopted. To grow up in a home where I was treated like a problem. I don't know, it's just a guess. Your guess probably good as mine. Lucky that I grew up in a home that wanted me to shine. Lucky that I grew up around some mountains we were taught to climb. Without that inspiration, I don't think that this would be my life. Do this for my friends who've scattered all across the country now. I'm out in Sweden walking back through life so I can write it down. Make a living off the sound, so crazy to say out loud. I'm the biggest thing since Travis Rice to come up out the town. Sorry, gotta stunt a little. Used to have my dreams belittled, but it's all a part of it. I know people's minds are fickle, lines between reality and dreams I blur like faded nights. Come up been so good for me, I wish that I could make it twice.
I do this for my father, who I've only seen from time to time in my dreams. I do this for you. I do this for my mother, who's finally clean, no longer a fan. I do this for you. I do this for my sister, my wife and my kids, cause they part of the team. I do this for all the naysayers and haters who made me one of the greatest. I know it kills you inside, that's why I do this for you.
Oh yes, y'all, I do this for you. Shout out to my pops. What's up, man? How we doing tonight? Hey guys, thanks for being here tonight. It is Tuesday. It is Big 10 tonight. I want to tell you guys, I'm sorry for getting on so late. We're still on time, but I wasn't able to do a lot of my pregame that I usually do because a lot of stuff is going on and I had to make videos. I've been doing with a lot of things. So let's get to the breaking news. Thank you so much, sweetie. Shout out to the amazing and wonderful Kim. Did you make this a flavor? It's mixed berry. She made me mixed berry, y'all. Shout out to the beautiful Kim Jones. She's in the other room doing her business. You know she's working. Shout out to TikTok for watching us. Thanks for watching, but I don't talk or watch any of you. Don't read any of your comments. You got to go to YouTube to get any of the comments in. Get it done ahead of time. That's just how we're going to do it, okay? So, before we get started, before we hit the Big 10, we got to talk about what's trending and what's happening in the world of sports today. So, here's what happened, guys. Bills owner Terry Pegula made a racist comment, supposedly, right? He's accused of making a racist comment back in 2020. There's a lawsuit out there, and I'm going to tell you right now, the lawsuit is by a guy that doesn't work for the NFL anymore. So I don't know how upset he is. Jim Trotter's his name. He's a black gentleman. And Jim Trotter went out and said, hey, I know of somebody who said, so it's secondhand to begin with. He says, I know another reporter who told me this story, which it doesn't work for me. I don't like secondhand hearsay. But he said there was a Zoom call, 40 people were on it, and Pegula said the following. He said, if the blacks don't like it, let me go back. Quote, I want to make sure I'm very clear. Quote, if the black players don't like it here, they should go back to Africa and see how bad it is. Quote. What? Now, if this was said, where have we been for the last 3 years? Where are all those 40 people at? Because it says approximately 40 other NFL media members were in the call. Where is everybody? What's going on? He said he tried to get the NFL to investigate. It didn't happen. All right? Then he says, I'm horrified that anyone would connect me. Oh, Paguglia says this isn't true. I didn't say this. I don't know, man. I want to tell you guys, I don't like to believe anybody accused. Like we always say, don't believe anybody innocent until proven guilty. There's so many false accusations in this world, whether it be domestic violence, sexual assault, racial undertones, and claiming of things. He then went on to try to sue in the lawsuit. There's also Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones is listed, Dallas Cowboys. And Trotter says he had a conversation with him, Will McClay, who's also black. He's a VP of player personnel, and Jerry Jones. And they all had a conversation, and Jerry Jones supposedly told him, quote unquote, if the blacks, let me say it correctly, quote unquote, let me find it. It's hard for me to even read some of this sometimes. He said, oh man, did it just change on me right now? He said, essentially what he said was, Jerry Jones said, there it is. If blacks feel some type of way, what is this? Why did this just happen? They should own a team. If they feel some kind of way, they should buy their own team and hire who they want to hire. And what he was referring to was having African-American decision makers in the NFL. Why don't we have more decision makers in the NFL? Well, it's pretty simple. If you do the math, there aren't a lot of black owners. So there isn't a lot of black representation when it comes to decision making in the NFL. Now, Trotter doesn't work for the NFL anymore. He actually, they got fired. They didn't get fired. They didn't renew their contract with the NFL Network. He actually works at The Athletic now. And people can't handle the reality of the NFL. And the harsh reality of the NFL is if you want representation at this private table, you need to have ownership. Without ownership, you're not going to make a decision unless someone empowers you to make that decision. It's why racism is real in America. Racism can only be implemented by people with power, right? So let's say you work and you live in your house. You would live in your house every single day. And you tell your family, I don't listen to black people. Black people will never tell me what to do. Let's say you're that racist. Let's say you're telling your wife and kids, I don't listen to black people. They will never tell me what to do. And then you go to work and you have a black supervisor. She's going to tell you what to do. And if you want that job, no amount of racism that you have can be implemented at that level. You don't have the authority or the power to enforce and enact your racism. It's just out there. You're just saying shit. But when you're the owner or the employer, you can now implement your level of racism. You now have the power to do so. You can say, I don't want to hire white people. If you're a black business owner, you can say, I don't want to hire white people. And you have the ability to not hire white people because you own the business. You then, in that very moment, in that small microcosm of society, you can implement your level of racism. That's how it works. And the fact that NFL owners probably own an absorbent amount of companies, own a plethora of things, they can implement their level of racism all over the place at a much greater scale. And this is why there's this misconception when you talk to black people about racism, they will spew it out of their mouth. I'm black, I can't be racist. You don't understand. There's a systemic this, that. And what they've done is they've followed this term that was taught to them, which is, yeah, at one point you couldn't be racist because you didn't own anything. You had no power. But you have power now. There's power. You're telling me Russell Wilson doesn't have the authority and power to be racist? He's worth $200 million. He can be more racist than any person at a store down the street. You think Betty and John, who own the convenience store, are racist? Russell Wilson could turn around and say, I don't want to hire white gardeners. He has the ability to implement his level of racism. The minute you become a business owner or have enough equity or enough resources, you can do it too. Everybody's capable of doing it. We're in a society where you can obtain the power to do it. You guys, I went to a Mexican restaurant. Sat down in this joint. Gonna order my food. And I looked to the kitchen, and I saw the door fly open to the kitchen. The door flew open. And it was like 3 white teenagers in the back making the food. It was called Taco World. Shout out to Melbourne, Florida. I was in Melbourne, Florida at a place called Taco World. It was on the beach. And when the door flew open, I saw a bunch of 18, 19, 20-year-old white kids. They're about to make me tacos at Taco World. Now, I'm from Southern California. I'm a Mexican-American man. I'm Hispanic. You know what I did? I got up and I walked out because I had the power and authority to implement my racism. I said, I'm not eating from these guys. They're not making me my food. No way. You can do the same thing if you have the authority and power to do so. So on a much greater scale, these NFL owners are doing this with their executives, with their decision makers. Are you kidding me? Jerry Jones has an entire scouting department. An entire scouting department with black men hired as scouts. Shout out to Deuce Vaughn's father, right? We know he has black men that he uses as scouts and position coaches and evaluators of talent. But when it came down to the moment to make a draft pick of Deshaun Overton, he called his grandson. He called his grandson who plays at Texas as a walk-on. And he said, hey, how's this guy? How is this guy? Is he any good? And he listened to his grandson before anyone else. Doesn't matter who he hired. Doesn't matter what's going on. And the fact, I just saw somebody down here said, I like you, dude, but stick to sports. Ivan Smith, telling me to shut up and dribble will never be the answer. Telling me to stick to sports will never. This is sports. This is ownership of sports. You guys don't understand what's going on here. It's not the type of racism you're used to seeing. This isn't water hose. This isn't Jim Crow laws. This is subtle. This is sleight of hand. And it's going to be there. It's life. We're all capable of it. We're all capable of it. You walk out of a hotel in the inner city, and you got 4 cabs just sitting there. Which cab you going to pick, bro? You look at the cab drivers. Which one are you going to pick? The guy who looks American? Maybe the dude who looks like he's from India? What about the guy who looks like he's from Senegal? You're all capable of this. So, that being said, Terry Pagula, if it's true, let me know, bro. Let me know if this is how you get down. Let me know. The phrasing, go back to Africa, is actually derived from Liberia. When President Monroe allowed slaves, freed slaves, to go back to Africa, put them on ships, and said, you can go back to Liberia, which was short for liberation. And that's why the capital of Liberia is Monrovia, named after President Monroe. And people showed up on the west coast of Africa free. And the first thing they did was enslave other locals in Liberia. Because that's all they knew. And they built plantation homes. I've been to Liberia. I went out there. I said, yo, this looks like Georgia. This looks like Louisiana. This looks like the South. They went and built plantation homes when they got home. And they enslaved the local people. And then shout out to some of those slave ships. Those guys were ripping people off. Claimed they were traveling all the way to Africa and dropping people off in Trinidad and Tobago. Dropping people off in Jamaica and St. Lucius. Just dropping people off on little islands and then rolling out. That's what was happening in the in the 1700s, 1800s. Shout out to Liberia. Woman president, She's a graduate from Harvard. Shout out to her. I like it. Nonetheless, I can't even go there with you guys. This is too deep for you guys. Stick to sports, Rico. Stick to sports. How about Aaron Rodgers? 4 plays, about $10 million a play. This guy makes $10 million a play. These guys tell me stick to sports. Let me tell you guys something. There's 222 of you here on TikTok. None of you go to YouTube to talk to me. So you guys don't even fucking matter. That's real. Aaron Rodgers, done. I want to say this to Aaron Rodgers. Congrats, bro. Karma. All the things he did to the Packers organization, how pompous he acted all offseason, I can't stand Aaron Rodgers. I didn't cheer for his injury. I didn't applaud his injury. I got excited for Zach Wilson to get his career back. I got excited for somebody on the edge of the roster to actually be activated for next week's game. Somebody's going to have an NFL dream come true because of this. All right? Everybody's talking about the game, the punt return, Xavier Gibson. You know how Xavier got that lucky break? Somebody had to retire, right? A first-round draft pick from, 4 or 5 years ago? Retires. Corey Davis, we got a guy retiring to give you that roster spot. Congratulations. I love it. But every time a player goes down, somebody else is living their NFL dream. And I'm excited for that individual person and their family and their journey because I've been following these kids since high school. You don't even know these players. That's the worst part about it. You guys don't even know the players, so you then pretend to care about somebody you don't know. But I've been following this kid, watching his high school tape, sending him DMs, talking to him the whole way, believing in him, and he finally gets his big break. These players reach out to me in DMs before the NFL draft. I got the receipts. Hey, Rico, can you look at my film? Let me know where I'm at. They send their agents to me. I got the receipts. I got the DMs. I care more about these players than you guys ever would. So for me to get somebody to say to me, hey, Rico, you shouldn't say that. He got injured. You shouldn't say that. Bro, I'm going to say it. Shout out to Alexander Gallant. He just sent me a super chat. He said, Rico, I appreciate your overall content in sports. Shout out to Liberia. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the super chat. That's the way to get the day started. Shout out to Aaron Rodgers. He's done for the season. His Achilles is busted. Dove Kleiman quoting, and if you guys don't know, Dove Kleiman's got about 230,000 followers on Twitter. I'm not one of them. But he went out and said the Jets have started to reach out to veteran quarterbacks, according to Rossini. And here's a list of free agent quarterbacks available. And they're listing the list here. I went down this list. I just made a video about it. Carson Wentz. He once twisted both ankles. He once sprained both ankles on the same play. He ain't it. Cam Newton, you bring him in, he's going to start a quarterback controversy day one. And by the way, they don't want any of these guys to be their starter. They want them to back up Zach Wilson. They already said Zach Wilson's their guy moving forward. So now you're trying to find a backup quarterback for an emergency situation. You don't want Cam Newton. American civil rights activist Colin Kaepernick, not the guy you want in that locker room. He's not coming. He doesn't play football. Josh Rosen, not a good football player. Can't make progression reads, has never been able to do it. This is a guy who was drafted in the first round after 1 season. His team traded him. After 2 seasons, he was on 5 different practice squads. That is not a good quarterback. Joe Flacco, last time he was good, it was 2013. I kid you guys not, Candy Crush was the #1 game in the world in 2013. And George Zimmerman was a model citizen. Jodi Arias was a great-looking girl who didn't kill her boyfriend yet. 2013 is a long time ago. I'm telling you, Joe Flacco's not it. Matt Ryan, 15 fumbles in 12 games. Lost 5 of them. That dude's terrible. Went 4-7-1 his last season. Chase Daniel, hey, he knows how to back up. He ain't starting no fights. Nick Foles, great backup. Bryce Perkins, he's an athletic kid. I don't know if I want him. Trevor Siemian, I guess. Danny Etling's, I'm cool with him. Colt McCoy is 36 years old. He can come in and be that savvy dude. Just got released by the Cardinals. Ian Book, he sucks, bro. Ian Book is terrible. Shout out to Notre Dame. Matt Barkley, I don't want to see him in the NFL anymore. He's gotten too many free checks. Brett Hundley, I'm cool with. He's not bad. But there's some other guys out there. There's some other guys you got to give some credit to. Will Grier looked great in the preseason. Don't be saying Fitzmagic. All you guys saying Fitzpatrick, get out of here, bro. Will Grier, that final game when the Cowboys gave him all the snaps so he can earn a spot on another team, I liked Will Grier. It's good backup. Just saying. All right. Now let's be serious. I don't know what's going on with Matt Corral. I don't know what's going on with Matt Corral and the Patriots. Matt Corral simply just left. They're saying, let's make sure he's okay. I don't know if it's mental health. He kind of flaked out and left the team. Look, man. Finding a new city, moving, being this young, never getting your shot, a team gave up on you. It looks bad. Bill Belichick said he's in exempt status. That means he wasn't released. I don't have any comment. That's a personal matter. That doesn't sound good, guys. Let's get him some help. We don't want this guy. But you know what somebody said? He went missing for days. Guys, what do we do? Is he on drugs? I'd imagine so. You go on a binge, you go missing. Got another super chat here. Will Grier, shout out to West Virginia. Shout out to Daniel Henderson, supporting the channel, sending in a super chat and letting us know Will Grier is him. Shout out to West Virginia. That's a true statement. He played great at West Virginia. He was a stud. Who was his receiver? Danny Stills? Danny Stills was his guy, right? Shout out to Danny Stills. Danny Stills, he was 13 years old when he got his offer from Lane Kiffin. And then they ended up being a wide receiver. True story. Broncos lose another wide receiver. Well, not a receiver, a tight end. This guy, Greg Dulich. Hey, sound like you're choking on the 3,000. Anyways, Greg, he's a former tight end from UCLA. He's only been around a couple years. Sucks that he's hurt. I don't know how long he's hurt. I didn't read it. How long is he hurt? He's expected to miss multiple weeks with a hamstring injury. Oh, my goodness. JSN missed a whole season with a hamstring injury. Don't come back too soon. Speaking of not coming back too soon, unfortunately, Mike Williams has passed away for the second time. Listen to what I'm saying. We reported Mike Williams passed away from a construction accident. I reported this weeks ago. And then out of nowhere, turns out he was on life support, and they said he was responsive. So he was still fighting, but unfortunately he lost that fight. Shout out to Mike Williams. It's a damn shame. There is a GoFundMe page. I'm not one to donate to anything. I handle death very differently from the rest of you. But he does have a 10-year-old son and an 8-year-old daughter, and that's just unfortunate. It sucks. It's a shame that NFL players who retire have to go into construction for the rest of their life, and get hurt like that. I used to, obviously I've been in the Army over 20 years. We went and deployed, and when we sat down before we went to our deployment, we were in this gym, and they just had us all stand up, and they just said, look to your left and right. They said, we're not all coming back. Somebody's going to be missing. We're not all coming back. And that was like that sobering reality. Like, shit, somebody's coming. Like, we're not all going to make it. So we deploy for the year, and we lose about 3 or 4 guys. And it sucked every time. You have to do a memorial service. Things are terrible. And me being a platoon sergeant, one of my guys, I lost him. I got 30 guys. One of my guys goes. And it sucks. But when we get back, we do this we call it reset. And we were doing this reset. We were letting all the guys just have a month off of work. We don't even need to see you guys for a month. Not charging you leave, nothing. Just go relax. And one of my guys goes out and buys a motorcycle. And he doesn't have a license for it. He doesn't have a helmet. And he rides it right off the lot with his wife following behind him in a minivan with the 2 kids. and he's gunning it, messing around on it. He's doing what he does, and he's not paying attention. There was a semi-truck in front of him that was parked at a red light, just parked there. And he's flying into the back of this thing, and his own wife and kids witnessed it from the other vehicle, and he's no longer here. And it sucks, man, because you go that whole year dealing with so many different things that could go wrong, and you make it, and then you come home, and that happens in your first 2 weeks home. And when I think about Mike Williams, like, he went through his whole career, he could have had injuries and everything go wrong on the football field. You can get paralyzed on a football field. And he didn't. He was fine. And he's taking hits from everybody. He's a wide receiver, for crying out loud. And then you go work construction, and there are people who work construction their whole lives, and they're still alive, and they're fine. And then there are people who die on their first day. And that's the harsh reality of life. And I deal with death so different from the rest of you because I've seen so much of it that when I see stories like this, I just kind of keep going. I almost don't even click on them. They don't even move me. But I recognize that the rest of society is like, all right, moment of silence, or let's pay our respects, whatever. So I put it in here, but sometimes I don't. I just want to give you guys a heads up warning. I don't react to it like the rest of you guys. I don't understand. I'm just different. Just being real with you guys for a second there. A little vulnerable. I'm just letting you know. Been through some shit, and I'm like, okay, another day, another dollar. It is what it is. Another day, another dollar. Rest in peace. Rest in paradise, whatever you guys say. Hey, speaking of another day, another dollar, I was right again. Kyle McCord is the starting quarterback for the rest of the year, like I said he would be. I told you guys, they lied and pretended like they wanted Devin Brown at Ohio State to be the starting quarterback. It was just to keep him on the roster so he wouldn't transfer. It was to make him feel like he was part of the team and part of the competition, but they didn't want him. I knew that. I could tell. I watched the tape, guys, and it's the same thing Ryan Day said. When Ryan Day made this announcement, if you want me to scroll up, I'll show you what he says. Quote, unquote, they don't put it in here. But it's in another post somewhere. Oh, that's too bad. ESPN sucks. It's in another post where he says, we just watched the film and decided Kyle does everything, better. He's better than Devin Brown. I watched the film, and that's how I came to my conclusion 2 months ago. No matter what the insiders were saying, they were telling me there's some guy named Zach Smith or some shit on YouTube who's like an insider on Ohio State. He knows everything, and he came on his show, and he started saying this is the starter, and he was at practice the other day, and he knows all it. And I'm like, well, I don't care what any of these guys say. I just watched the film, and I can just tell you which one's a better quarterback. I know. So once I tell you who's the better quarterback, the coach knows too. I'm not saying I'm smarter than Ryan Day. I'm just saying he knows his players. So there you go. Shout out to me. Got it right. Let's go to the schedule before we go to the chat. Let's start talking Big 10 today. I didn't pull it up beforehand, so this will be fly by sky. Let's go. Let's talk about it. I feel confident. Rico, you just Google stuff. I got accused of Googling one of my videos today. I made a video about Xavier Gipson this morning, and this guy says, hey, you know what I hate most about your video? You pretending like you knew who he was before the punt return. You had to go look all this up to make your video. And I just thought, man, this is hilarious. Xavier Gipson, player of the year in the WAC for 2 years in a row now at the FCS level. I did a video on one of his teammates who's a backup defensive lineman on the team. So this is crazy. I just started laughing. I'm like, I'm doing backup players on his own team. He's the MVP of the conference. Forget the team, the conference. I'm making backup videos of players on that team. Chances are I know the best player on the team and the conference if I'm talking about whoever. Excuse me, I just got a super chat I got to respond to. Rodney Woods II, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, salute who you hit for the Heisman. Well, it's very early for me to say the Heisman at this very moment. Second in the country in passing yards is Shedeur Sanders, but third in the country in passing yards is Caleb Williams. And Caleb Williams has 12 touchdowns, no interceptions. Caleb Williams looks amazing. Caleb Williams has the best supporting cast in America, the best offense in America. I got Caleb Williams number one for the Heisman. There's nobody else that I would even have in that conversation. Caleb Williams. Another guy that I would probably put second is Michael Penix Jr. Michael Penix Jr. at Washington is doing his damn thing. I promise you. He's carrying that team on his back. He looks great. So Michael Penix Jr., Caleb Williams is, to me, head and shoulders above the rest. Thank you for the question, Rodney. I appreciate you. All right, let's go over to Big Ten. Well, Indiana smashed Indiana State. That happened. It wasn't close. Good stuff. Illinois, like I told you, they're going to have a down year. I feel like they're having a down year, and they lost to Kansas, and it wasn't close. 34-23. It wasn't even as close as that score says. Michigan over UNLV. I love UNLV. I love their new coach. I love how they're doing, but unfortunately, they played Michigan. It's hard to deal with. Ohio State did not move me, man. They were tied with Youngstown State. I told you guys, keep an eye on Tyshawn King. He was the game's leading rusher. After I told you, look at this guy, Tyshawn King. He's a Division II transfer coming from northern Michigan, showing up from the GLIAC. That's like the SEC of Division II. He did his thing. We got another super chat. I apologize. Let's go over here. Who do you think wins the USC versus Colorado game? I'll talk about it on that week. I do appreciate the tip. I hate blowing you off, but today is a Big Ten day. I talk about Big Ten stuff today, Rodney Woods, but I'd imagine USC is my number one team in the country. I don't see them losing to anyone until they do, right? Troy Stewart says, now that Penn State has a quarterback, can they beat the brakes off Illinois by at least 25? Last time they played, they got upset in an ugly overtime. Yeah, so I'll talk about it. Is that next week's game? I'll talk about it. Tony Stewart. Let me go back over here. Let me just double check. Week 3, Penn State, Illinois. I'm going to talk about it. Don't worry about last season and what happened compared to this season. It's going to be a little different. Let me get back to this over here. So now we go to Penn State, blowing out Delaware. No big deal. But Ohio State did struggle to impress me against Youngstown State. I did a whole video about Wisconsin and Washington State. Wisconsin just looks disjointed, y'all. They look like a team that just got together and they have no continuity. A new offensive coordinator, not nearly as good as Sean Lewis at Colorado, right? Not doing it. But Luke Fickell's a great coach. But Wisconsin does not look like I expected. I want them to put everything together, and they didn't got it. Remember, most of the defenders on this team were Jim Leonard kind of guys. This team was pissed. Do you guys remember they went to Twitter and complained about their new hire? Now, they all say they're in the corner, and they're all supporting Luke Fickell. But when he got hired, they went to Twitter and said, F this. They were mad because they wanted Jim Leonard, who is Wisconsin football, right? Jim Leonard, former player at Wisconsin. They wanted Jim Leonard to be their head coach. And right now, Jim Leonard doesn't have a job until Michigan State comes calling. But I'm just saying, that these defenders, they don't look like they're bought in. This team doesn't look bought in. They got players everywhere. They are not impressing me. Wisconsin's looking very underwhelming. I dropped them out of my top 25. On that being said, Washington State's the complete opposite. They are looking like world beaters. They look great, and they dominated that game. Shout out to Colorado for blowing out Nebraska. Nebraska might be the second or third best 0-2 team in America. And I know that's crazy because they gave up 393 yards passing, and they had turnovers everywhere. But Nebraska, when you watch them, they play good. They do. They do. It's unfortunate. Though their players are good, like at positions, they're winning. You know, they won that battle shutting down Travis Hunter. They just put one guy on him. Newcomb was out there just playing corner. Just, hey, what's up, bro? Travis Hunter ain't do much but 3 receptions. It's difficult when somebody's out there on your hip all day long. Nebraska has players. They'll get in the win column, but best 0-2 team in the country. Right up there with, I think Texas Tech is the best 0-2 team in the country. And then Boise State and Nebraska are right there, neck and neck. Purdue did their damn thing. They went out there and beat Virginia Tech. They shut them down. Purdue has a stud at safety. I was watching the film today, and I'm like, I got to tell you guys about him. So I made a video about Dylan Thieneman, the kid who's got his 2 brothers that used to play on the team. He's a safety, true freshman. He's got 2 interceptions on the year. He leads the team in tackles. When I watched the film today, I was like, oh, my God. This kid's everywhere. He's damn near great. So true freshman, starting safety. Purdue has a stud. And I love to see it. So there you go. They beat Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech struggled. Got to get the ball to Bishal Tutton more. This is an FCS All-American running back from North Carolina A&T. Kickoff returner, punt returner. He's doing everything he can to help the team, and still not enough touches for me. Iowa beating Iowa State. Saw that coming. It looked just about the way it should. Shout out to Rocco Becht. If you don't know Rocco Becht, his dad Tony Becht or Anthony Becht, the tight end for the Jets. You guys remember? Tight end for the Jets, Anthony Becht, current Seattle Battlehawks head coach. Yeah, that's his son from Florida, 6 feet tall, and Becht is out there doing his damn thing. A lot of people want to see JJ Crone, whatever his name is, JJ, the 6'7", 250-pound kid, but they went with Becht instead. They lost the game, but they still threw for a lot of yards, so congratulations there. Michigan State blowing out Richmond. Michigan State looking good. Noah Kim leading the conference in passing. Nathan Carter, the UConn transfer, looking great. Another 100-yard game. That's back-to-back 100-yard games. Nathan Carter's doing the thing now. Is Richmond, is FCS team. But we'll find out what Michigan State's about soon enough. Northwestern blows out UTEP. UTEP is god-awful. UTEP is god-awful. Northwestern is not good. I'm telling you. Maryland, don't be fooled by this score. Charlotte scored 2 early touchdowns right away and then got shut down for the rest of the game. So Maryland did their job, but initially it looked a little shaky. Shout out to Biff Poggi for going into Maryland, looking good for the recruits, doing his thing. I appreciate it. I like where Biff's going, but it's going to be a long season for Charlotte. Eastern Michigan at Minnesota. Minnesota found themselves a running back, y'all. True freshman, Darius Taylor. I put a video out, showed you the tape, showed you everything. I love what Darius Taylor's doing. I love where they're headed for Minnesota. Handling EMU. EMU just didn't look good. Corey Crooms finally got in the receiver column. Good job. Rutgers surprised the hell out of me. Rutgers beating Temple lets you know, hey, there's levels to this. And Rutgers beat Temple pretty bad, 36-7. They hold E.J. Warner. That's Kurt Warner's son. They hold him to 230 yards passing. That kid always throws for 300 yards. So I didn't see that coming at all. That's pretty awesome. Good for them. Let's go to Week 3 matchups. Let's see how we're looking for next week. Pay attention for those of you who want my takes and everything. So Maryland. Virginia's at Maryland. Obviously, Maryland's winning this game, but I think they're 14.5-point favorites. It scares the hell out of me. I think you got to take the over here. I just watched Virginia and JMU score all over each other. Maryland has a better offense, right? So Maryland's going to score. Now, are they going to stop Virginia from scoring? I don't know. Virginia put up 14 on Tennessee as well. Virginia has a new starting quarterback. They got a freshman. He's a freshman. Anthony Caldera. Anthony's good, man, but he's short. He's a gamer, but Tony Muskett got hurt, and this kid, Caldera, came off the bench, and he's not looking back. So I'm excited for this game. I think it hits the over. I don't know if Maryland covers the spread. It looks huge, but it feels right. Looks good and feels right. Pause. Then we got Penn State, Illinois. I have no idea what this spread is. Somebody put it in the chat and let me know. But I like Purdue in this game, or Penn State in this game, huge. This is not Illinois from last year. Illinois is garbage. Illinois does not have NFL players that are getting drafted in the first, second, and third round like they just had this last year. I got Penn State just blowing them out and doing their thing. Now, yesterday, I talked to you guys about Louisville at Indiana. And I said, Louisville's going to cover this spread. What's the spread? You guys told me, oh, Rico, I think it was 9. I don't remember what it was, 10. And I said, oh, yeah, they got this. So Penn State, 14.5. Yeah, I think Penn State covers that. Louisville at Indiana, after thinking about it for a while, Indiana names Trevin Jackson their starter moving forward. He's explosive. He's dynamic. Louisville's defense struggles. But Indiana really stopped the pass on Ohio State. They shut down their star wide receivers. They really did. Can they shut down Louisville star wide receivers? I think it's possible. I'm a little hesitant on this one now. That's why I didn't make a lock video on it. It feels right, like Louisville's going to cover the spread, but it just feels like Indiana might have the recipe, especially at Indiana. I think I might stay away from this game entirely. Georgia Southern at Wisconsin. Georgia Southern runs an offense very similar to Washington State. Let me explain. Washington State just blew out Wisconsin with a with this run offense at Washington State that you don't see every day. And it's Arbuckle's the offensive coordinator at Washington State. And Ben Arbuckle, he learned his offensive scheme from Tyson Helton at Western Kentucky. Tyson Helton, the head coach at Western Kentucky right now, taught Arbuckle this thing. So what the offense you're seeing at Washington State is actually comes from Tyson Helton. And what do you think Tyson Helton did when his brother Clay got hired at Georgia Southern. He taught Clay Helton this spread offense, this high-octane offense where they just throw the ball every single play. The same offense they're running at Western Kentucky, they're running at Georgia Southern. This is why Georgia Southern, Kyle Van Treese last year was 5th in the nation in passing. Georgia Southern puts up points. They just beat a great UAB team, 49-35, and UAB was throwing the ball everywhere. Shout out to Trent Dilfer. I feel like Georgia Southern's going to score points in this game. I feel like they're going to throw the ball. And I also feel like Wisconsin is falling apart. Mentally, emotionally, internally. Phil Longo is not getting it done as an offensive coordinator. They're leaving a lot to be desired. The spread looks big. I feel like Georgia Southern can cover the spread, but personally, I'm looking at over. I'm staying away from it. There's a whole lot of things going on there. It's not a lock at all. Minnesota at North Carolina. Let's find out who can run this rock. Let's do it. Minnesota has a great defense. And I already told you, Darius Taylor, true freshman running back for Minnesota. I want to see what he does to North Carolina's defense. I want to see it. I'm excited. After watching Nate Noel from Appalachian State run all over these guys in double overtime, Nate Noel got 140 yards. I feel good. My lock of the week, one of my locks of the week is this one right here. Duke, Northwestern at Duke, at home. The spread was 20. Now it's 18.5. That means people are putting money on Northwestern to move the spread that way. Guys, whoever's putting money on Northwestern, they're encouraged by Northwestern's performance against UTEP. Are you kidding me? Duke. Clemson scored 1 touchdown on Duke. And it was a fluke accident off a muff punt. Duke's defense is so fast. So mean. So senior Latin. We're talking about 17 returning starters from a 9-win team. I'm convinced myself Duke is covering that spread. Western Michigan at Iowa. Obviously, Iowa's going to win. I don't know the spread. Virginia Tech at Rutgers. It'll be interesting to see if Rutgers wins this game. If Rutgers beats Virginia Tech, shout out to Rutgers. They're separating themselves from everybody in the region, and they're saying we're one of the better teams in this region. You'll win recruiting battles because of that. So I'm hoping Rutgers wins. I love Greg Schiano. I like Kirk Soraka, their new offensive coordinator. I like everything they're doing there. Western Kentucky at Ohio State. Before the season started, I thought Austin Reed had a shot to really put some hurt on Ohio State. I don't think so anymore. Western Kentucky has not looked as good. He's not connecting with Malachi Corley, his star wide receiver. It just doesn't look good. Ohio State should be fine. Washington at Michigan State. I want to say the spread is 16. 16 for Washington. Is Washington going to go in there and beat the brakes off of Michigan State? Shout out to Jeremy Bernard. If you guys don't know, Jeremy Bernard, coming out of high school in Washington, he was committed to Washington Huskies. At the last second, he flips, goes to Michigan State, ends up on the bench because they got Keon Coleman and Reed and all these boys, and he doesn't play much last year. He's a good wide receiver, and he transfers back home, and now he's back at Washington. So he's going to be playing his old team. I think Washington's winning this game. I think Washington can score all day, but 16's a lot. That's all I'll say. 16's a lot. Nebraska's going to beat Northern Illinois, guys. Northern Illinois just lost to Southern Illinois, the Salukis. I don't know what Nebraska's spread is. I know you guys are probably looking at Nebraska and going, how do they score? Like, they're not any good. How do they score? Don't worry about it. Northern Illinois lost, I think it was 14-11 against Southern Illinois. Southern Illinois scored 2 touchdowns. How does Northern Illinois score? I like Nebraska to win their first game of the season. Michigan and Bowling Green, it'll be a blowout. I don't know the spread on that. And Purdue and Syracuse, stay away from this game. Watch the game. I think the spread is 3. I don't know which way. It doesn't matter. Stay away from it. It's hard to tell who's going to win this game. It really is. They both have impressed. Obviously, Purdue with their win this last week, and then Syracuse had a big win as well over one of the directional Michigans. Just leave it alone. Just leave it alone. Don't got to bet on all of them, guys. All right, now it's time to get to your questions. Sorry about that. Went a little long today. There was a lot of stuff going on. We got about an hour and 20 minutes to get to your questions. I'm in the chat. We're going line by line. Don't repeat your questions. Make sure they're only Big 10. If you're on TikTok, thanks for being here. Shout out to all 224 of you. Move over to YouTube. That's where we get paid. Thank you. hit the link, join the YouTube, go watch the live stream. You can actually see the graphics on the screen and see what we're talking about. Shout out to 189 of you on YouTube. Can I get you guys to do me a favor before we get started on chat? It's the same thing I ask for every single day. Can I get you guys, before you get into the chat, before you get into the show, can you please leave the show and hit that like button just one time? It's really important we get our likes. This is how they share the live to new people on YouTube. This is how we show up on their thing. So we're sitting at 75 likes now. There's just no way. We got 400-something people watching. Hook me up, bruh. Let me get some likes. You ain't got to give me no money. I don't need money from you. I need likes. Now, if you got here early and you got your question in, I'm obviously going to get to it and answer it. If you got here late, you're going to learn the hard way. You got to get here early to get your question in. There's too many people. Boss Omar says, good day, sir. Andrea says, what up, Rico? I've been sick the past couple of days, but happy to be back early talking Big 10. My main question is, why does the Big 10 look so underwhelming this year? Very few exciting teams, in my opinion. Andres, blame the offensive coordinators. The Big 10 lacks appealing offensive coordinators. They just got Phil Longo from North Carolina, but it's not that appealing at Wisconsin. They said they're going to throw the ball more. But when you look at each individual team, there's some really bad offensive coordinators. Shout out to Iowa and Indiana, Michigan State. Even Michigan's kind of boring as an offensive coordinator. Ohio State's trying to figure it out, but you have terrible quarterback play. The whole conference has terrible quarterback play. Who are the NFL prospects at quarterback in the Big 10? And how good are they? When you look at the Pac-12, there are like 7 professional quarterbacks in that conference. You look at the SEC, about 3 professional quarterbacks transferred into that conference. ACC, stud quarterbacks. They're carrying the whole show. You want to watch Van Dyke throw 5 touchdowns against A&M? It happened. Then you got Klubnik. Then you got Riley Leonard. It's like a who's who of quarterbacks that can actually play. You go to the Big 10, you just get very underwhelmed. The leading passer in the Big 10 is Noah Kim. Noah Kim. Or as somebody corrected me and said, Noah Him. Okay, that's just nuts. Give the man his likes. Thank you so much, Marco. Thank you for talking about it. Steve says, welcome in. You guys know the drill. Big 10 only. Thank you so much. Hey, RicoKnows.org. If you want a sweet t-shirt, blanket, coffee mug, or throw blanket. Yeah, the throw blanket's fucking fire. I was using it earlier today. So was Ash. But yeah, RicoKnows.org. That's where you get the merch, guys. Thank you so much. I'm wearing one right now. Want to see a dead body? Want to see a dead body? Oh, I say this shit about 10 times a day. There's so many bodies out back, they thought I had a cemetery. It's just a pit. Rico, your brother came up on my For You page. Dude, it's crazy. You guys not only look alike, but your voice tone, inflection, cadence is the same. We need to get you guys on the same live at some point. Hard pass, Guyot. I hate doing any lives with my brother. I have no desire to do lives with him. I don't like the debate format. I don't like any of that. That doesn't appeal to me. I'm here to educate, talk, and do my thing. So no thank you. Oh, by the way, stop watching videos from your For You page. Never do that. You won't see my videos. If you guys are waiting for my videos to appear on your TikTok from the For You page, it doesn't happen. I make 10 videos a day. You'll only see 2 or 3. You have to be, at worst, go to your following and watch whoever you're following. Watch that content. But don't watch your For You page. It doesn't show you my stuff. What you want to do is go to who you're following, reduce the number of people you follow, get rid of some of the junk you follow. Go in there, delete it. Start deleting non-essential things, people who don't create content every day. Get rid of all those jokers. That's what you need to do. And then go to your following tab, and then when you watch your videos, my videos will come up more often, and you actually see the content. This is why guys write to me all the time, hey, Rico, I still haven't seen your Anthony Richardson reaction. Hey, Rico, what do you think about Joe Burrows? Hey, Rico, I didn't see this, I didn't see that. Dude, hey, Rico, talk about the Cowboys. Like, I made all these videos days ago. You don't see them because you're watching me through your For You page. You guys are failing at supporting the content creator and learning. Learning. You guys are skimming the book, bro. David in Arizona says, good afternoon, Rico. Shout out to you, David in Arizona. Good to see you all the time, brother. Willie Bobo, what up, G? What up, G? Willie Bobo says, let's get it party popping. I have my popcorn ready, yo. Okay. Stephen Guyett says, Georgia, Southern Wisconsin total is 64.5. I know you say that Georgia can score, but UAB and Citadel aren't in the same atmosphere defensively as Wisconsin. I like the under. What are your thoughts? My thoughts are stay away from this game. Those are my thoughts. Connor Formula says, I know that everything you do is calculated, so what's the reasoning behind ACC Monday, Big 10 Tuesday, Big 12 Wednesday? So I just started from one side of the country to the other. So I just went from ACC, because I'm on the East Coast, right? ACC. Then I went Big 10. Wednesday's hump day, so let's get over the hump, the middle of the United States. Thursday is the SEC, but that's just because they're thirsty Thursday. And then I saved the best for last. Thank God it's Friday. Went straight to the Pac-12 on Friday. That's how I did it. True story. But you're right. I am very calculated, and I thought it through. Hey, Rico, you mentioned today that Josh Allen isn't in your top 5 quarterbacks. Could you share your top 5? Also, what an underrated college football rivalry, past or present, or even in the future? So, from the rough, my top 5 quarterbacks, you're asking for the NFL, my top 5 quarterbacks. I can tell you right now, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and Trevor Lawrence are always going to be my top 3 at this moment in time. The next 2 fluctuate, but I could probably lean towards Hurts and Dak Prescott. Okay? But sometimes Aaron Rodgers is in there when he's not injured. I like Kirk Cousins sometimes. But I can tell you who's not in my top 5. You guessed it. I feel some type of way about Josh Allen. I don't think he's any good. I've watched him. He's not clutch. He fumbles when he shouldn't. He's a turnover machine. I don't like Josh Allen. And when everybody said, Rico, you don't like Anthony Richardson, you're racist. I bet you like Josh Allen. They're the same. And I'm like, nah, you guys got me wrong. I hate Josh Allen. I do. Hate's a strong word. I'm not a fan of Josh Allen's game. I think he's a product of having an all-pro wide receiver, Dayball coming in as his offensive coordinator, Ken Dorsey being his quarterback's coach. Remember, Ken Dorsey made Cam Newton an MVP. Kim Dorsey was his quarterback's coach. And then he left, and Cam Newton fell apart, plus getting injured. There's a whole lot of stuff going on there. It's just a perfect storm for people to think this guy's good, and I don't think he's good. Hence, his numbers going down once Dayball leaves. Just not good. Thank you, Rico. I received my merchandise. Shout out to Willie Bobo. He got some merchandise. Rico knows is a bad man. You better ask somebody. Hey, ask Kim. Kim, am I a bad man? Damn, you know what Kim said to me earlier today? What did she say? She said, babe, you're bad. You did say I was a bad man, huh? What did you say? You're badass? She said I'm badass, bro. Yeah, any of you guys have a girl gassing you like that? Nobody get. Hey, man, I went running this morning. We went running a trail near the house. And while we were running, I gave Kim a head start so I can catch up to her. And then I caught up to our pastor because I don't run with a girl. And after I got ahead of her, I got a little tired, started chilling. I turned around. There she was. She caught back up to me. It was pretty impressive. So I gave her a reward. I took her to breakfast. I took her out. And while we were sitting there, I just kept looking at her. She kept gassing me, bro. She kept saying, you're pretty badass, bro. You're pretty amazing. That's what she says to me all day. It's an amazing feeling. I hope you guys have somebody in your life rooting you on like that. One more thing, Rico. Oh, 1 second. Lewis Henson gave me a thumbs up with 3 elephants. Okay, 3 elephants. That means he's an Alabama fan. Roll Tide, roll. Jeff Jensen says, Rico. As long as you're not saying Rico La, we're cool. Andres says, one more thing, Rico. Penn State is a 14.5 favorite at Illinois. What are your thoughts on that with how disappointing Illinois is? Can Illinois bring it back at home after the first conference opponent? No. Illinois lost their star running back. They lost 3 of their star defenders. They lost their defensive coordinator, their linebackers coach. Illinois, the cupboard's extremely bare. The only thing they got going for them is Luke Altmaier transferred in, and he's the whole team at this point. I think, I'm not a gambler, but I went to FanDuel today, and I was fiddling around. You know, I was thinking about putting $10 on all of my locks for this upcoming week, parlaying them together. You know what the payout is? $980,000. $980,000. I think that's pretty awesome. But what I learned on there is you can buy down points. You can change the spread. When I see 14.5, the first thing you want to do is get it to 13.5. So buy a point. They'll tell you don't do that. Gamblers will tell you don't do it. Listen to me. When you see 14.5, that means somebody has to lose by 2 touchdowns. It's really 17. It's really a field goal on top of those 2 touchdowns. It's 3 possessions. Right? Because you can't get there with a touchdown and 2 field goals. That's 13 points. So it's got to be 2 touchdowns and a field goal to get to 14.5. You can't get to 14.5 any other way. So that's 3 possessions they need to win by. But if you knock it down just 1 point, now we're just looking at 2 touchdowns. It's one less possession. So you can change the spread on FanDuel. At least that's what I saw. Just letting you know. What was I against the spread last week? It's on the damn bar underneath on the show. If you're asking me that on TikTok, you're not watching the show. That's all there is to it. Shout out to 214 people who don't see the damn stats running on the bottom of the ticker. Shout out to me. Does Wisconsin cover the minus 19 over Georgia Southern? Seems reasonable, but Georgia Southern does have a great offense. Georgia Southern has a good offense. Does not seem reasonable. Wisconsin's struggling to score with like continuity. Tanner Mordecai's getting picked off here and there. Now, Georgia Southern's starting secondary. They all transferred out. They're studs transferred out. They're at West Virginia. One's at Minnesota. They left. The starters left. So Georgia Southern is getting scored on in the secondary. Hence, UAB putting up 35. But Georgia Southern's going to score. I hope. I stay away from the game entirely. Stephen Guyette says, do you think the distraction in East Lansing is too much? I like Washington and what they're doing, but 16 points is a lot to cover on the road for them. I lean Michigan State, but let me know your thoughts. I don't think the distraction has anything to do with the players on the field at all. I think the reality is can Michigan State stop the passing attack of Washington, and can Washington stop the Michigan State rushing attack? Because it's everything's happening because of Carter, the rushing attack. So I don't like the spread. I don't like the spread either way. You guys don't have to bet on every game. The fans win on that game. Just watch it. I wouldn't bet on it. Carter Next says, hey, man, Necht. I've seen that name before. Basketball player from Colorado. Does Michigan cover the spread of 40.5 versus Bowling Green and Iowa at 28.5 versus Western Michigan? So Iowa, I've never seen them even score 30 points, so I don't even like the way that looks. I don't care. I just don't feel like Iowa has an offense to score 30 points. I don't. So I wouldn't even take that. I could just stay away from it. Michigan, they're not running up the score on anybody. Michigan has not been running up the score on anybody. Now, Bowling Green is terrible. Bowling Green, for me, is in the bottom 5, talent-wise, from what I saw. Bottom 5. And they have Connor Bazelak at quarterback, one of the worst quarterbacks in America. He transferred into Indiana last year, stunk it up so bad he had to transfer and leave. I don't feel good about Bowling Green, but I just don't think Michigan's running up the score either. They're pulling their starters out. They don't want anybody getting hurt. So they're just winning. They're getting up by like 21 and then pulling people out. Neither one of those games are worth betting on. But I hear you. Good luck. Morant's Rant says the champ is here. Shout out to my twin brother. Evan Kramer says, I feel like the under on Iowa Western Michigan at 42.5 is free money. Thought, yeah, Kramer, that sounds free money to me. First and foremost, nobody can score on Iowa, and Iowa can't score. 42.5 sounds great. I thought it would be 35.5. Iowa, Western Michigan. Remember, Western Michigan lost their star wide receiver, star running back. Iowa, Western Michigan. I'm going to make a video about it. The 42.5 looks like free money to me, too. There you go. Great lock. Thank you for bringing it up, Kramer. Seth says, who had the worst performance? Sims at Nebraska or Josh Allen? Josh Allen. Josh Allen's a professional. Some of those snaps that Sims didn't do bad. Some of those snaps were due to the center snapping that shit incorrectly, and Sims still broke for a long touchdown on the ground. Josh Allen couldn't beat a team and had 4 turnovers in the NFL. Like, this is a professional. Get out of here, man. Josh Allen had the worst. Only person worse than Josh Allen was Ryan Tannehill. Morant's Rand says, since it's a Big 10 day, when are we going to talk about Michigan wrestling? The Montana boys are there. So these are some wrestlers from the local area where Morant's Rants lives, and they wrestle for Michigan, apparently. I thought they were going to one of those Big 12 schools, but more power to them. Congrats. We don't talk wrestling during the football season. Hey, look, it's Morant's Rants. What up, Willie Bobo? Kamani Ross says, I know that not Big 10 related, but every week, why is it always somebody coming at Coach Prime? I don't think they're coming at Coach Prime. You guys are seeing Jay Norvell. They're just creating narratives here. Jay Norvell looked at the tape. He's not coming at Coach Prime. He said, I watched the tape, and I see that Nebraska and TCU outplayed Colorado players on tape. They're losing one-on-one matchups. But where they're not losing is Shedeur Sanders. And that's the case for a lot of teams. That's the case for Alabama all last season. Right? You could beat these guys at individual position groups. You're going to tell me Nebraska's defensive line didn't win that battle? Nebraska's defensive line beat the snot out of Colorado's offensive line. There were so many sacks, hurries, rushes, all this stuff. But the one guy that can make it happen, Shedeur Sanders. Extend the play, get the ball where it needs to go, and even on a good play, you still can't stop it, right? Sometimes you can't stop the perfect pass. Sometimes you can't stop the perfect shot. But you can beat everybody else on the field. And I think that that's what's happening. Now, Colorado State does not match up well. What's up, Rico? What up, Walter Model? What up, man? Orlando Johnson says, what's up, Rico? What up, Orlando? Sims is trash. They could have beat Colorado, but dude was in on the fix. Okay, shout out to Morant's Rants. JJ for Heisman. And they better be undefeated because his numbers don't look Heisman-like at all. Is that an axe? Is that fire and an axe? Willie Bobo says, what up, Reekster? Kill it, yo. Thank you very much. What's going on, fam? What up, Legal Hustle? Thoughts on Indiana? R. Harp says, Nick Toomer and Andre Carter look solid so far. Any other Hoosiers to look out for your expectations? Yeah, Tevin Jackson. Tevin Jackson won a couple state titles in Indiana in high school, then signed with Tennessee. Found out real quick I can't start in the SEC. Transfers back home. Now he's the starter. This is the guy touching the ball on every single play. This is your quarterback. Pay attention. He's good. I like the kid. He's a playmaker. Now he's probably going to have some growing pains and find out real quick that everybody around him isn't good, including his coach. But he's good. Shout out to Andre Carter. He's playing out of his mind. Nick Toomer, solid. Salt and a SWAT, good to see you, brother. Good luck with all the Michigan State questions today. Is Wisconsin on upset alert this weekend? I don't know if they're on upset alert, but it's they're not fighting a cupcake. And they don't look poised to smash anybody. Chat just jumped on me. You guys hang in there. Hang in there. This happens. Rico, God bless, man. I'll be listening to you when I get off work. Shout out to Andrew Lawley. Do you think Drew Allar has been the most impressive quarterback in the Big 10 this season? Maybe. I think he has. I think he's impressed me because I didn't believe in him. I don't believe in him. But he's playing really good. And he's found other receivers. And the running backs haven't been leaned upon. But there's another quarterback I really like in the Big 10 that I think's looked impressive, and that's Hudson Card. Hudson Card is doing well. Trust. Hudson Card's making all the right decisions. He looks like a good quarterback. When I watched the tape today, I just saw a guy just making the right throws, poised, leading his team. That guy's going to win you games when his back's against the wall. I really like Purdue's team and the persona of them. They're not going to win a bunch of games. They're not going to win the conference or anything. But Ryan Walters just has something about him. They're a very likable team. I don't know if you guys have watched any tape on Purdue. Go watch the tape. They're very likable. Compared to expectations to be one of the, if not the best teams, Michigan looks underwhelming. I believe so. Do you think that's purely because they don't have Harbaugh, and do you think they get on track? So I would hope they get on track. Yes, it's not just purely that they don't have Harbaugh. They also don't have their offensive coordinator. They're rotating different coaches out. They're doing different things. You know, they're in shambles because they're picking different coaches to call plays, and they're just having a bunch of guys fill in, and they're experimenting while they can. That's what it really comes down to. Utah State money line. Utah State is a Sunday question. I taught Group of 5 on Sunday, so you missed the show. Go back and watch it. I talked about every single team in the Group of 5. You can go figure out what I thought of Utah State on Sunday's live stream. Go watch it. It's posted. Talk, Rico. What up, Zippity ET? Paulo Flores says, hey, Rico, after Ajay Hall transferred from Texas, where did he go? He went into the portal and nobody signed him because he's not a collegiate athlete. He is not a student athlete. Ajay Hall has extreme character concerns, been arrested multiple times. No teams want to waste a scholarship on him. He wanted to go to Purdue with Hudson Card, wanted to join that team, and they never sent an offer because they're not doing it. We can't hear you. Zippity White, you must be new to the show. While the song's playing, I'm not talking. I'm talking to people on TikTok, telling them to move over to YouTube. Thanks for being here. Feels like Penn State only being 14.5-point favorites against Illinois is a trap line after what I watched Kansas do to Illinois. No, it's not a trap line. It's not a trap line. It's just that they think Illinois played them tough last year, which they did. But Jake T, they don't. The lines in Vegas don't even understand the transfer portal. They don't. They don't know why. Like, they don't understand talent. They just look at tendencies and what happened last time, and it's weird. They just, how does this team perform against the spread? How does this team perform against this in the first half and on a sunny day on Tuesday and on the road? It's just dumb. I don't understand. They're not even sitting down assessing matchups. It's really weird. Is today Big 10 day? Yes, it is, Adam. Amos says, Rico, what do you think of the Iowa Hawkeyes? I think they have an amazing defense, and they're offensively challenged. It's the same thing every single year. Nothing's changed. That's how I feel. Shout out to Brian Ferentz. Rico, he's not talking yet. Thank you, Jeff Collins. Yo, Aiden Cherovic says, what site do you use to see high school recruiting? High school recruiting's on 24/7. It's on 3 and Rivals. Personally, and in Aiden, I don't look at high school recruiting. I'll be honest. I don't like those websites. I only use them for pictures. I don't trust any of their stars. I don't do any of that. The way I do high school recruiting is I get a lot of video requests, and I watch a lot of film. I watch a lot of huddle tape, and I make my own assessment on players irrelevant to their star rating. Like, I just look at a player and go, oh, yeah, he's FBS, he's FCS, he's there. It's lazy to go to those websites and just click it. It's lazy recruiting. You got a one-stop shop with all the pictures and all the stars, but they don't even know those players. Like, the websites don't even know the players. They went to a camp, they got some database, they got some information back, and they moved the guys. And then they have correspondence from writers in the region, and those writers will say, oh, yeah, this is the best guy here. But you know what they're not doing? Those websites aren't checking all state lists or all conference rosters or the top-rated teams in the area. They're not doing the due diligence to dig into the players in that area, in that specific region. So when you see a wide receiver is ranked number 8 in the state, you got to ask yourself, is he really the 8th best player in the state, or did they just go to a camp and that's how they know who they are? That's it. Camp exposure, that's how you get on those websites. It has nothing to do with, like, they're never going to put a guy at the top of those websites who they don't have a picture of. And how do they get a picture of these kids? You got to go to camp to get your picture taken. So it's just ridiculous. I'll never, ever go to the recruiting websites to look at their rankings. I don't look at any of that shit. I'm just not interested. I discover high school football players one at a time. That's the only way I can describe it. One at a time. That's how it goes. Do you think Georgia Southern will cover the 19-point spread against Wisconsin? Rewind the show. Your voice is so low. Your voice is low? Is my voice low? I apologize if it is. I can turn it up. How about now? Let me know. You guys gotta tell me sooner than that. Utah State money line. You're not here. You're on the wrong day, bro. I'm a big fan of Greg Schiano and Rutgers this year. Do you think they could pull off an 8 or 9 win season? Not necessarily, Lolly. Not necessarily, but I hope they do the best they can. 8 or 9's a lot asking. That's asking for a lot. I like what they're doing. I'm a huge Schiano guy, Kirk Soraka guy, but come on, man. Rico, what up? What do you think of Iowa? Rewind the show. Need thoughts on Maryland? Maryland's a good team. They're a very good team. I like the way their coaches work. I like their team. This is going to be their shot. Hope they got their team together. Hope they're ready to push. They're about the 4th or 5th best team in the conference. Shout out to Kim. She's a great wing man. She's a wing woman. Is Washington and Penix 16 points better than Michigan State in their first game without Tucker? Jake T, I want to say yes, but I'm staying away from it. But I'm going to say yes. What do you feel about Louisville and Indiana? Yeah, there you go. I feel like Louisville can score all day, but Indiana's proved to be able to stop the run, that they can stop the run. They have a good rush to stop the run. This is what causes them to throw bad passes. But I'm going to stay away from this one. After I talked about it yesterday and I was like, yeah, it looks good, I'm staying away from it now. It's not something I want to put my money where my mouth is at all. Rico Skip said Nebraska over Colorado. I don't even know anybody named Skip. I already talked about this. Who's Skip, bro? People barely know how to skip. I never met somebody named Skip in my life. Ever. That comment sounds suspect if that many people allegedly heard it. Right, Jeff. I agree. 40 people in a room. Out of the Big 10, Who is the champ this year? I think it's Michigan this year. Do you think Penn State ever dominates again, or is it recognized? Ty Turner, they're dominating. They won the Rose Bowl last year. They're dominating. I try not to guess who's going to win a conference. I just take it 1 week at a time. I don't really get it. You've never seen a video of mine predicting the national champion or the playoff teams or conference champs. I'm not in that world. I don't do it. Because injuries can happen. Coaches can get fired mid-season. Shit can just go wrong, and I don't like being wrong on a video. Then people come back and tell me something. Shout out to Ash. She just wants my attention right now. Sorry about that. She's jumping in the camera. What a beautiful little girl. Has there been any more Iowa players tied to the gambling issues we heard in the preseason? Story seems to have gone cold. Salt and the SWAT, they got everybody they were looking for. I have insider information and sources on this from the Iowa State side. I don't know any extra players on Iowa, personally. Diego Hernandez, this sounds like BS. Yep. Hell no, old head Jerry ain't racist. Berto Boudreaux. Jake T says, is Iowa even going to score 28 points against Western Michigan? They're favored by 28.5. Yeah, you see, that's where I feel, man. Western Michigan's not very good, but are they going to win by 28.5? I know one thing. They're not scoring 42.5? They're not scoring 42.5. I don't see that, so give me the under. Iowa minus 29 seems like a lot for Iowa. I can't remember last time they scored over 30. There we go. Penn State minus 14.5. I think that's a lock against Illinois. Thoughts? I'm with you. Buy down the half a point. Buy down the point. LOL, Morantz went live the other day and grabbed a Coke Zero. He said, look, I'm Rico. I'm drinking a Coke Zero because I got 0 of my locks right this week. Carl is GOAT. People will do anything for clicks, bro. That dude wears a space helmet for clicks. There's people out there just mentioning my name for clicks. Cool. Tyler McNamee, why do you think the majority of Big Ten West is mostly stuck still running Smash Mouth football? Wisconsin brought in Longo, but will the ads of USC and UCLA expedite more Big Ten West teams to change? Yeah, it's offensive coordinators. That's all it is. That's how you choose what offense you're going to run. Offensive coordinators. I also think it's conducive to the weather. It's really hard to throw a lot in the winter months when it's cold in the snow. It's hard to catch a pass in November and December. So you got to be a little careful throwing the rock around like it's a sunny day in Florida or California or Texas. It's kind of weather-centric, right? There's not too many people throwing the rock around in the cold like that. Not a whole lot. And you got to get the recruits for it. It's really easy to recruit some big running backs in those states. The high school football in your region will dictate what type of offense you're capable of running. Unless you have national allure and you can recruit nationally, you're going to get the kids near you. Tell me what offenses are being run in Minnesota that you can go recruit Minnesota kids. Where's this passing offenses in Minnesota? I watch California high school tape. I watch Texas high school tape, Florida high school tape, Georgia high school tape. All these warm states, they got 4 wide receiver sets, bro. They're flying around making it happen. You start watching some Michigan football, some Pennsylvania football, some Minnesota football, you're just going to see a bunch of wing T. Some crazy shit. You're just going to see everybody just smashing each other. It's pause. Looks like a damn... What are you doing? Looks like Woodstock. Sorry about that. Let's get off race. Carl Smith, get off it, bro. Get off it. What's good, Rico? Hope you have an amazing day. Tyler McNamee, will the Big Ten eliminate divisions next year, and will that make for better conference games moving forward? I believe they are, and better teams make for better conference games. They already have good conference games. Every team does. Kendrick Gardner says, you're missing the point of systemic racism. No, I'm not. That's how it's enabled. That's how it's done. Why do you think I don't own any land, bro? You think I'm missing the point on systemic racism? I'm a Mexican kid who grew up and my parents didn't own any land. I see a bunch of ranchers out here. They inherited land from their grandparents and their other parents and their other parents. I understand people started life on third base. I know what it is to people who had an advantage over me. I'm not missing anything. I've been alive for 40 fucking years in America. You don't think I know what racism it looks like? Jake T says, Jeff Sims went to my high school. He was bad there. He was bad at Georgia Tech. When is Rule going to give Lil Purdy a shot? He said he's not unless he's injured. I already talked about Washington. You to plug. Thank you, Lawrence Collins. I appreciate you. Iowa putting up over 28 this week. Whew. You're asking. I already talked about it. Do you think Ferentz will let his kid finish out the season? Still confident Iowa couldn't score on the Kardashians. Steve, I think he gets to finish out the season. I do. Rico speaking facts. Thank you, King Footy. Sam Walker, can you run a daily team conference rankings and a based on what reason? Sam Walker, I already do way too many ranking videos and way too much other shit. Like my plate is full, bro. I know you guys have good idea. You good idea fairies think, hey, Rico can just do this. I'm telling you, my plate is full. I'm running out of time. I don't even get time to look at the high school kids, and I want to do high school film review. My plate is way full. Jimmy Ori says, wow, Rico is red, man. Thank you very much. I do read a lot all day long. Come on, get down. Sorry about that, sweetie. Kamikaze, what's up, Rico? Stop asking about Utah State. That is a Sunday question. Go watch the Sunday show. CJ Williams, is it worth it for the Jets to try to get Brady out of retirement? Not at all. Jake T, Vegas definitely seeing how not great Ohio State is. Only 28-point favorites against Western Kentucky. And I think I'm taking Western Kentucky to cover that spread. I'm just saying. Austin LeBeau says, shout out to Zach Wilson for playing good. Shout out. Verity Gaming says, not really. They'll have to sign another quarterback, which will most likely be an older vet free agent. Steve Talbot says, this is the perfect example of why you should be nice to people on the way up, because it's a long drop on the way down. Facts. Kamikaze says, did you see the subtle improvements from Zach Wilson last night on a host of the fronts? I think Zach Wilson's a good quarterback. I just don't think he has the respect of the locker room over that stunt he pulled in a press conference last year. I don't think Zach Wilson could ever lead those men into battle because they don't respect him. But he's still a very good quarterback, skills-wise. He can lace it. There's a lot more to being a quarterback, though. You got to know audibles, read defenses, manage the play clock. There's so many things. You got to be a good game manager and lace the ball. If it was just throwing the football, there'd be quarterbacks everywhere. But there isn't. There's only 32 on this planet, and about 20 of them are good. Rico knows. Shout out to you. Bama Boy says, how in the head double hockey sticks do you know about Liberia and its history, not just limited to sports? Well, Bama Boy, I went to that country, so I did a lot of cultural studying before I went there. I am a senior leader in the military, so I'm going to take people into a foreign country. We're going to learn why we're shitting on the beach because they only have 19,000 toilets, things like that. We're going to learn what's going on, so we study. It's a college class. You study before you go. At least those of us who are, like, I'm military intelligence, bro. I'm not some infantry dude who was like, let me just shoot at the berm. Let's go take the hill. Where's my tank? I was military intelligence and a cyber expert for the NSA. So it's a little different before we go on our recons. But thank you for noticing. Tyler McNamee got into a heated debate about Zach Wilson versus Kyle Trask. Okay. Would love to hear who is the better pro and who would win an NFL quarterback battle between the two. Thanks. Well, Tyler McNamee, Kyle Trask has never played in the NFL. Period. And if he was any good, he would have beat out Baker Mayfield, who was on his last leg. And he couldn't because Baker Mayfield has played in the NFL. So playing in the NFL is the huge advantage here. Period. Kyle Trask has never played. Zach Wilson has. I like Zach Wilson over Kyle Trask, even though Kyle Trask had an amazing senior year at Florida. But getting a lot of stats at Florida doesn't move me. Playing quarterback in the SEC isn't hard. Kids transfer into the SEC all the time when they can't start at their current school. Look at every starting quarterback in the SEC and tell me how many transferred in because they couldn't start somewhere else. You can start in the SEC. It's really easy. You got 5-star wide receivers out there catching all your passes. It's really easy. So quarterbacks show up and play there. Even the shitty ones. He said, how do you sprain both of your ankles on the same play? Yes, I did. Ray Cleverly says, that list is absolutely brutal. It's slim pickings, bro. Steve Talbot, feel like there's a chance we could get a Liberian track and field update soon. They're not very good. They're a tropical rainforest. They're a tropical climate, so everything's always flooded and it's raining most of the year. You thought Seattle was bad? They got way more rain than Seattle. Shout out to Aaron Rodgers. Don't even bother fitting the jersey too snug. I won't be here too long. That man did not get his jersey hemmed. If you guys ever worn a loose jersey in the 90s, I remember I wore a loose jersey because my coach wanted me to wear really big shoulder pads. I was a starting fullback and linebacker, and he wanted me to wear these really big shoulder pads. And then later on, when I moved to corner and wide receiver, I was like, bro, I can't. intercept nothing. I can't catch nothing. We got to get rid of these big-ass shoulder pads. I wanted the smallest ones possible. And then I went and I got those, the tapered sleeve and everything. You got to get that little band in there so it goes around your sleeves. It's like, you got to look clean, bro. You got to look clean. That man looked sloppy as hell. Didn't get his jersey hemmed up. Didn't do nothing. He looked ridiculous. I'm serious. He looked absolutely absurd. Verity Gaming says, my mom still plays Candy Crush. I know. I saw her last night. I know. 40 minutes left, y'all. Chase Daniel will be a solid backup for Wilson. He would. He wouldn't try to be the starter either. The Jets should give some practice squad guys a chance. Cunningham, Greer, Rourke, or Magoo. Totally agree. I like all those options. I believe it. It's cool. Corral. What about Matt Corral? Matt Corral. Tom Brady. Genuine thoughts on Kaepernick. Genuinely thoughts on Kaepernick. I'm not a fan of Colin Kaepernick. I feel like that's a guy who just wasn't good enough to play in the NFL towards the tail end of his career, and he did something drastic to get attention and to make a living and get paid for the rest of his life, or make enough money for the rest of his life because his NFL career was over. I don't like people like that. I don't. You used to be a talented guy. You used to be able to play football. You can't anymore. Go do something else. But here he is. He's a martyr. He's a hero. He's an activist. He's done nothing to activate me. Eric White, on a Big 10 note, Maryland minus 14 against Virginia is a lock. There you go. I think Virginia's terrible. Jacoby Brissett. Oh, that sounds good. I like Jacoby. Will Greer, shout out West Virginia. Shout out. Talked about Louisville yesterday. That's ACC. Yo, Rico, what's your thoughts on Chris Bell? He was a solid wide receiver number 3 for Minnesota besides Tyler Johnson and Rashad Bateman, but he's been injury prone for the past few years and hasn't played yet this year. Yeah, so D-Dub, a lot of you guys have been asking about Chris Bell. The first game of the season, people thought he was going to get receptions. They did like a prop bet on him. And I'm like, guys, I've been watching all spring film. I've been watching all spring practice. I've been doing all the research I can. Chris Bell's not in the works. This is why Crooms came in from Western Michigan. Even when guys transfer out, Bell's not there, man. It's just not happening. I don't know what it is. He doesn't look reliable. The best ability for any player is availability, right? That goes for every girl as well. Diego Hernandez. Will Greer is originally a Florida guy before transferring to West Virginia. Side note, his brother is a famous Vine guy. Yeah, I vividly remember Will Greer transferring from Florida to West Virginia. Thank you. Ray Cleverty. The stories I've heard about Matt Corral from college. Hey, man, calm down, bro. Bruh. Morgantown in the building. Jets need Cap. No. Got Duke at 18.5. There you go. I feel good about that. Shout out to Gopher Big Guy 911. Minnesota is a better team than they have looked. What do you think of the North Carolina game? So I think Minnesota's going to go out there and run the ball. Ethan Kaliak-Manis is just not getting it done as a quarterback or a decision maker. So the less he throws, the better off they'll be. I apologize. I had 3 different thoughts going in my mind at that point. The problem is Drake May on the other side of the ball. Drake May, Hampton at running back. He just put up 234 yards on App State. They get it done, man. When it really matters, push come to shove, they're just more senior Latin. They've been there before. So if the game's close, North Carolina pulls it out just because they got better players, better talented players. I love Minnesota's defense. I love the way they're playing, but I'm so excited for Darius Taylor, the true freshman running back. I hope he gets more carries. I hope Sean Tyler doesn't get upset about it. Got a 2-headed monster. You can run all day on these guys. But I'm not betting on the game. I just hope Minnesota plays well. And if North Carolina loses this game, that's going to bode terrible for the ACC because they might be one of the better teams in the ACC. And Minnesota's probably a 9-win team. If they win this game, they're a 9-win team. So thanks for the question. Gopher Big Guy. I can tell you're a Gopher fan and you believe they're better than normal. But for me, losing, like Tanner Morgan was holding it down for so many years. I think Ethan's got another year before he's ready to lead the team to victory. Right now, he's a liability. He's not getting it done. And I know he played good in the bowl game, and everybody believed in him. He's not a reliable guy at this moment. Jets should pull Tanner McKee from the Eagles. Dude's a baller. So, yeah, the Jets can sign anybody from any practice squad. They don't ever – there is no qualms about it. You can sign any quarterback from another team's practice squad as long as you sign them to your active 53. That's the only rule. You don't have to get approval. There's no waivers. There's no nothing. Nope. The other team can do nothing about it. They put him on their practice squad. And the NFL rule is you can sign anybody from a practice squad and put them on your active 53. So every team's probably freaking out right now. That's Americans which have the attitude, not them. All right, I hear you. Austin LeBeau says Devin Brown is not it. Yep, he's not it. We're picking people. They didn't pick him. The Big 10 has some of the most electric environments in college football. What games are much watched the next few weeks? Counts. I apologize. I never look ahead more than 1 week. Never look ahead more than 1 week. So I'm just looking at this week right now, and I haven't even looked at tomorrow's games for the Big 12 or SEC games. Or I bite this apple one bite at a time. I eat this apple one bite at a time. I literally woke up this morning and only looked at Big 10 stuff for this week. And tomorrow morning I'll wake up and only look at Big 12. It's how I am. I'm regimented in my mind. I cannot look ahead. It just gets too – you then start doing wave tops. You then start skimming. You're not really informed on what you're doing at that moment. You're just kind of – you're not in the weeds. You're not digging deep enough. I'm looking at depth charts today for Purdue, Minnesota, Michigan State. I'm looking at third, fourth stringers that I haven't looked at yet. I'm digging so deep because I want to make sure I know these teams inside and out. Me looking at a schedule for 3 weeks from now doesn't really pay off for what I'm doing today, and I'm focused on today. And I do that every single day. It's just how I am. That's why I don't answer questions about other conferences today. I was at the Ohio State game, and when Devin Brown came in for a couple series, he looked awful. Missing progressions and reads and just trying to run. McCord is better. There you go, Vendetta. Shout out to you. Tyler McNamee. Will Grier had 2015 UF team rolling. This is true. Glad he's been able to bounce back after taking the wrong substance at GNC and not getting to define himself, not letting it define him. Well, he didn't bounce back yet. Will Grier's on a practice squad. He didn't make it. He didn't make an active roster. He got cut. Salute who you hit for the Heisman. I told you guys, Caleb Williams. Caleb, if he's healthy. Caleb hasn't even played fourth quarter yet. Thoughts on Maryland? Like Maryland as a program. Think they're the fourth or fifth best team in the Big 10. They can even do better if they win. Tua's little brother, Tagovailoa, has to play great. Who do you think wins the USC-Colorado game? Obviously, USC's winning every game. Now that Penn State has a quarterback, at least 25, last time they played, they got upset. Yeah, they're going to win that game. Ultimately, Ryan Day's job is to win college football games, but why, despite having top 5 offenses, do his quarterbacks never prosper in the NFL? Scheme doesn't translate. Wide receivers are almost too good. No. It's not the wide receivers. I want to answer this for you, Tyler McNamee, but let me get the super chat real quick. Go for Big Boy says, disagree that Athan isn't better than Tanner Morgan. Tanner had one competent year and was atrocious the rest of his career. The receivers have been the problem this year, IMHO, in your honest opinion. So go for Big Boy. I'm not into debate. Thank you for the tip. Thank you for the super chat. I'm not into debate. I give you my opinion. I give you my take. Thank you very much. If I sat here and debated every person in the chat, I got hundreds of people here. It just doesn't work for me. So thank you for disagreeing. Thank you for saying what you said. I assess talent for what it is. I did not say Tanner Morgan's better than Athan or anything of that nature. What I'm saying is in the past, they've had a reliable quarterback that they could rely on to pull out games because of his experience or his seniority. They don't have that here. Now they have a young quarterback who has no experience of winning games, no experience in those moments and getting it done when it really matters. And unfortunately for them, I feel like they're going to be in a lot of games like that, and he's not the answer. They got to find it. And they thought they found it in Sean Tyler, but now they found it in Darius Taylor. It's just going to be this other thing. You can blame the receivers. You can blame them. That's fine. But that's not going to solve the issue. You got to get the ball to the running back then because nobody's catching it. Now, back to Tyler McNamee. The reason Ohio State quarterbacks don't succeed at the next level, it all depends on who's the coach and who's the offensive scheme. But right now, in this very moment, Ohio State runs an offense that's extremely dependent on hash marks. Okay? The NFL and the college game are not the same because of the hash marks. So when you have wider hash marks, you get wider parts of the field and more narrow parts of the field. The NFL doesn't have this issue. So what happens is you can line up in a scheme or an alignment in college that will enable your receivers to run certain routes you couldn't do in the NFL because of the hash marks. And this protects your quarterback from throwing to the opposite side of the field or the far side of the field. And it's a manipulation of it. The same thing happens with Tennessee, Oklahoma, Josh Heupel, that entire tree. They do the same type of offense, okay? And it's just alignment that you cannot duplicate in the NFL. So when you do those alignments and you get that spacing, it leaves your slot receivers wide open. It leaves your X, Ys, and Zs wide open, right? So X is your furthest left wide receiver, the guy on the line of scrimmage. Your Y is your tight end or slot receiver. Then your Z is the guy off the ball. When you're looking at your X and Zs, there's so much spacing there for their alignments in college, it enables you to get an advantage. Like, it's just like saying you have a 50-50 chance. There's no such thing as a 50-50 ball. One guy's got the advantage over the other. They're not equivalent. So if you have better talented wide receivers, you're going to win that battle every time. But when these Ohio State quarterbacks get to the NFL, they lose that advantage. They lose that spacing. They lose that room for error. And now there's a safety on top of you. Now there's a linebacker taking away your slant or taking away your hook to curl. Now there's a strong safety rolled up to help. And it's just a whole plethora of things that happen at the NFL level that doesn't happen at the collegiate level. That's why they're struggling. It's actually, they don't run a pro-style offense. That's what they call it, right? Let's run a pro-style offense. When you look at pro-style offenses, Notre Dame, USC, now USC, because now teams in the NFL are running, they're no longer running systems. They're drafting quarterbacks and drafting around their quarterbacks, right? In the NFL, back in the day, you used to have systems. And then you joined that team and had to learn the West Coast offense and had to learn their system. They don't do that anymore. Now they just draft a quarterback and go and get all the pieces to make that quarterback better. That's why dual threat quarterbacks work now, because they're not trying to fit them into drop back wide, alignments. They're not trying to fit them into run and shoot or whatever bullshit offense they're all running. Now you get a guy. There's only two teams in the NFL with systems. 2 teams in the NFL with systems. That's the Patriots and the Seahawks. And that's why some quarterbacks can go there and succeed, because you get in that system and you do well, and the minute you leave, you don't do well. Shout out to Matt Castle. Shout out to Russell Wilson. Geno Smith just got there. He's in a great system. He learned it. It's a system thing. Understand. And yes, they're trying to implement one with the 49ers. Yes. Let's say Hunter, Shador, and Edwards are Colorado's 3 top players. Is there a Big 10 team with 3 teams top players better than those 3? Sure. Yeah. Every team has good players. Every team has pro prospects and good players. Remember, you're not comparing those 3 guys to a quarterback, a wide receiver, and a running back. Those 3 guys got to go against 3 defensive players. That's how it's done. Don't compare 3 offensive players to 3 other offensive players. Compare those guys to 3 defensive players. And what I mean is, can Colorado's offense score against all the teams in the Big 10? They'd have a really hard time lining up against some of these Big 10 defenses. They would get manhandled because of the depth, strength, aggression of the Big 10 defenses. There's some real problems out there. Michigan's defense is a real problem. You don't want to line up against them. Ohio State. I mean, they have years and years of recruits and building up. I love Colorado's team. I love their players. It's a different echelon, right? It's just a different level. We'll find out. Rodney Wood says, thank you for your knowledge on NCAA football. Thank you, Rodney. Thank you for your support. Shout out to UNLV, my alma mater. What up, bro? I love what UNLV's doing. Shout out to you. Austin Navarrete says, does Iowa have the weapons to average 25 points per game and allow Brian Ferentz to keep his job? No, they don't have the weapons, and they don't have the schedule to allow it to average that. I think Brian Ferentz is done. They're not going to score like that. I just don't see it. But we'll see. We'll see. Could be wrong. I'm very rarely wrong, but I hear you. Only 1 year. Your brother said you're a USC fan. LOL, I can tell now. Only one Fari. My bad, I said year. Only one Fari. I am not a fan of any team. I'm a fan of players and coaches. And it all depends on where the players transfer, where the coaches move, in their career, I'm not a fan of any team. That's an absurd statement. You can ask around. My brother doesn't know me. I haven't seen my brother. I've seen my brother once in 20 years, bro. Don't believe the hype. Matthew Katai, you mentioned the lack of success of JUCO players. Is Jermaine Johnson the most successful JUCO transfer recently? No. I mean, he's the biggest name, but no, there's been other guys who were in a JUCO and then turned out great. There's been a few. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but Jermaine Johnson's not that great of a player, so I can't go there. I mean, he was great at Georgia. Everybody talks about it, but it wasn't like there's great NFL players that played JUCO, recently. Aaron Rodgers was a JUCO recently. He just played in the NFL recently. If you're talking about who was in a JUCO recently and played great and got drafted, there's a ton of guys. So, nah. Ray Cleverly says, Nebraska needs to unleash Chubba Purdy. Hey, don't ever say you want to unleash your Chubb. Wavy says, Penn State has two of the best running backs in the nation, or in Allen and Singleton. How would you compare and contrast them? Who is better? So, Singleton's better. Like, that's just the way it is. Singleton's better. They're fine. I don't think they're as great as you guys think they are. Let me just say that. I don't think they're as great as you think they are. They have a great offensive line. They did some numbers. They're fine. But if I lined them up and had to beat out other people like in tryouts, when I watch the film, I don't see anything that makes me think those guys could start at other schools. They could start there. They're doing great. They're putting up great numbers. Got 900-yard rusher. But I don't think at any moment I'm like, yeah, that guy could go start over here. Like, they couldn't start. Neither one of them could start at Wisconsin. They're not better than Braylon Allen. So there's a better running back at Wisconsin than Braylon Allen. Back-to-back 1,300-yard rusher. He'd take both their lunch money. They couldn't play there. I'm not moved by that, right? Darius Taylor looks amazing at Minnesota right now as a true freshman. He's just as comparable. People just make a big deal out of it because it's Penn State. But Penn State had two other running backs on their roster. They just transferred, and they're not starting at Michigan or at Mississippi State and Minnesota. Not Minnesota. Where did he transfer to? Where'd the other guy transfer to? They're not even starting where they transferred. But you guys make a big deal out of it because they're running backs at Penn State. But when I watch the tape, I'm like, they couldn't beat out Will Shipley, and he's not even good. Kobe says, thank you, Rico. Our fan base is already calling Rules firing. Yeah, your fan base doesn't know what they're doing. Matt Rule's a good coach. He's a good coach, and he's a better person. Matt Rule's a good coach and a good person. 3 for 70+. I don't know what that is. Legal Hustle King. I missed it, bro. Kobe says, Chuba Purdy is not the solution. Thank you very much. Sean Pat says, as a Wisconsin fan, should I be worried, Rico? FYI, Mordecai sucks. Mordecai's struggling. You shouldn't be worried. They got to get their recruits in. They got to get guys for their system, right? Phil Longo inherited these guys. He just showed up from North Carolina. They got to get guys out of high school. They got to figure something else out. I wouldn't be worried. They're just not going to be good. They're just going to win 7 games, 8 games. They're going to be fine. Cupboard's not bare. Do you think Ninjata Meta has a future in the NFL or not? I don't assess NFL future until after the season or until they declare. So I apologize, Harp. I'll make a video on it in the future. Once they declare, I make videos on players. Chubba Purdy has that winner DNA in him. Let him cook. Winner DNA. Because his brother's a winner. He's not Brock, bro. Do you think the Michigan State will begin to unravel as a team with the Mel Tucker issue, or are they talented enough to have a relatively successful season still? Austin Navarrete, they have a really good defense. They have really good players on defense. Shout out to Cal Halliday. He's a good linebacker. I don't think they're going to unravel. They're just going to run into teams better than them, and they'll lose. And somebody will blame it on distractions and shit, but that's it. They're fine. Yo, Rico, you're the smartest talent analyst I know. I just tore my ACL and got surgery as a 6'4.5", 290-pound defensive tackle, offensive tackle. I'm a freshman going into my sophomore year when I play next. Baba Get Jet. What do you honestly think my Comanches of making it to that next level are? My chances. Bro, I don't know if you're 290 pounds of blubber or muscle. I don't know what you are mentally. I don't know what you are emotionally. I don't know what your work ethic is. Look, man, I got up this morning. What time did I wake up this morning, sweetie? 4 a.m. I got up at 4 a.m. this morning and got to work. Been working ever since. And the only time I took a break was to go go for a run. You know why I'm successful in life? Because I got work ethic. Like you couldn't imagine. It's out of this world. I looked at my girl. I said, babe, I need 10 more thousand hours. I know you want to spend time together, but I need to grind at this for 10,000 more hours. I plan to be somebody. I really had this conversation with her today.
You did.
I don't know if you're cut from that cloth, bro. I don't know if you're built like me. Lazy people aren't successful. Injured? Fine. Recover. Be better. That's it. I don't know if you're going to make it. I don't know what you're cut from. I know me. I'm cut like that. Shout out to that stupid-ass high school coach. I'm also 37-13 against the spread. I'm currently playing at Niles Notre Dame out of Illinois. Is that Notre Dame College? I'm a freshman, but I will be playing varsity next year. Oh, you're talking about high school, bro? Bro, don't talk to me. Do your homework. Diego Hernandez, thoughts on Maryland versus Virginia, over under spread, money line. Already talked about it. Obviously, money line is Maryland. I don't know the over under. Rewind the show, Diego. Penn State. 14.5 sounds about right. Buy it down to 13.5. You'll feel good. IU defensive backs are dogs. They're dogs. They're good. Coop, this is a Big 10 day. Shaking my head. I don't know what Coop said, but it got knocked out. Is a parlay with Duke and Arizona a lock? Nicole Katz, that sounds about right. Duke's playing Northwestern and Arizona's playing UTEP. That sounds about right. That sounds like a really good lock right there. Throw a third one in there just for shits and giggles. Lose all your money. Harp says, Rico, the IU game is at a neutral site, Indianapolis. Not sure if that makes a difference to you. Not at all. I'm not into that shit. IU defense is getting it done. Walt Bell needs to get out of Bloomington, though. He will as soon as they fire the head coach. Right now, who do you think looks the best in the Big 10 East? Penn State, Michigan. Penn State and Michigan. Kobe says, Georgia Southern came into Lincoln and put the nail in the coffin for Scott Frost last year. This is true. Western Kentucky plus 28. They haven't been scoring lately, but normally I would say yeah, but they haven't been scoring lately. Quentin DeJesus says, Penn State lost. Jalen Matthews, that sucks. Yeah, losing players does suck. We got 20 minutes left, y'all. I hope you got your question in already. Thank you guys for being here. Shout out to the 160 people watching us on TikTok. I never look down here. We don't read. We don't do any of that. Come over to YouTube. Give us a like. Give us a like on the way in. Shout out to the people who did give us likes. We're at 171 with 172 people watching. That's awesome. Maybe we'll get to 200 someday. 200 likes would be really cool. It was minus 10 Nebraska. Nebraska minus 11. That's fine. Northern Illinois, they suck, guys. If there was any world where Michigan State can win this game, who are you looking for to step up the most for Michigan State? Carter. The transfer running back from Nathan Carter from UConn. He's going to have to carry the load. But who's going to stop? Who's going to stop Michael Penix Jr. and Rome and all these boys who come in here? His receiving core is outrageous. His receiving core is top 5 in the nation for sure. You got a problem. Washington was favored by 22 or 24 during the offseason. Okay. Thank you, Chase. Legal Hustle King says -3 Syracuse. Stay away from that game. Stay away from that game. Just enjoy it. The fans win there. The Exposer, you like Coach D back at MSU. Who's Coach D? Oh, Dan Antonio? Yeah, I think he's like an advisory role. I've always liked him. I always thought he was a great recruiter, great developer of young men. I always thought he overachieved, beat Michigan here and there. I liked him a lot. I really did. I'm a big fan. I remember when he called that fake field goal. Forgot what it was. I think it was like 4th and 8. And it was just, what a beast. What a clutch call. Came from TikTok to YouTube. Didn't know you was here. Let's go, Rico. What up, Demetrius Pate? We're always here every single day. This is where the show is. All those people on TikTok, they're not supporting the channel. I don't get paid from them watching me on TikTok. We got to go to YouTube. Shout out to the 200-300 people that do the right thing. And the other 160 that just watch. They're missing half the show. They're looking up my nostril, bro. They're looking up my nose. It's crazy. Hit the like button. Thank you, guys. Chase Somers says, I like it when I enter feed. Pause. Hey, Rico, you like Penn State? Rewind the show. Good mattress. Rico knows. Jay Solomon, has he predicted the Iowa-Western Michigan game? Rewind the show. Jeff Collins, Nebraska. Rewind the show. Blunts and Paper Podcast. Shout out to DJ, one of my former players. Used to coach him. The Duke quarterback is good, but their defense, I feel like it's better, is carrying the team. Shout out to Riley Leonard for being great, but yeah, their defense is amazing. I hopped on Duke at minus 18.5, just worried these guys won't get up for a possible letdown spot against a boring Northwestern team. There ain't nothing boring. Remember this, Northwestern ain't scoring. Northwestern's not scoring, guys. I'm letting you know now. Northwestern will not score on Duke. They don't have it. Ben Bryant's not the guy. Clemson scored 7 points on a fluke. They're not scoring on Duke. Mike Elko's that guy. Head coach. Does Rule need to can Satterfield or can he figure it out? Rule just got there. They haven't even done a season. Everybody relax. You're not firing nobody. You the man, Rico. Love your content, bro. Thank you, Nathan Vass. A Jar Badger says, thought on Harlan Barnett and if you think he succeeded as a head coach. I owe you an answer, Jay Badger. I owe you an answer. I hope I see you again and you ask me the same question. Okay? 1 in 99, 1 in 100 questions I don't answer. Huh, babe? About 1 in 100? Maybe less. Sup, Top? Sup, Kim? Sup, Ash? Hey, shout out to Matt, giving everybody a shout out. Brandon Face, JJ and Drew are easily NFL quarterbacks. Yeah, I don't think so. They tell you that, but when I sit down and assess tape and get through it, I'll tell you the truth. I don't go off mock drafts. I don't care what NFL talking heads talk about. I don't see anything NFL from JJ, and I watch them all the time. I don't see it. Rico, how does your beard grow so fast? Dre, I'm a grown man. Grown men can grow facial hair. What the hell? Are you going through puberty right now? Are you struggling, bro? Let me know what's up. Chase Somers, Brian Farron should have been fired a long time ago. Cold beer and a Friday night says Nick Toomer and Jamari Sharp going to pocket thrash. They're going to pocket thrash and Kevin Coleman. Rico, Phil Dunham is a name to watch too for IU safety, future NFLer. You know, I watched Indiana against Indiana State. I watched Indiana against Ohio State. I like what they're doing. I know all the players. Thank you for the shout out. If it's a Power 5 team, I know all the players on the roster. If it's a Group of 5 team, I know all the starters. I know all the players too. So thank you for giving me a shout out. Thanks for letting me know. I'll keep an eye. Lord Bandy says, big ups, Rico. You think Minnesota is ride the legs of that freshman running back like they did with Ibrahim the last few years? I think so. I think they're running him to the ground. Now, they got a different running backs coach. They got 2 really good running backs, though. Sean Tyler's there as well. He's just a smaller guy, little scat back. So they're not going to let it happen. But, dude, the guy got 33 carries. The guy, they don't care. They just start feeding the rock. That's why these kids go to Minnesota. They just start giving them carries. They might run them into the ground. They're not going to – they don't care. They're there to win. And, Coach, shout-outs to you. Shout-out to me on that pro-woman girl beating up the other girls' take. Thank you very much, Blunts on Paper Podcast. Yeah, I can't stand it, bruh. WNBA, they're giving women a pass for beating up other women. I don't think it's cool. It's domestic violence. Lock them ladies up. Just remember, no phone sex. I don't need to, bro. My girl's sitting next to me. We don't even talk on the phone. Bugs in Montana. What's up, Rico? What do you think Penn State is missing? For me, Penn State's missing a marquee wide receiver, like a really good wide receiver, a game changer at wide receiver. I haven't seen it. And I've looked at that receiving core. It doesn't move me. That's what I think they're missing. And the marquee name at linebacker. Give me one of those awesome linebackers that they've always had. That's how I feel. Rico, you come up on my For You page still, but I also seek out your page. Thank you, Ray Cleverly. I will come up, but you won't see all the videos. You'll see one in about 8 videos. One in every 8 videos will come up on your For You page. 1 in 8 of my videos goes viral, and that tells me that somebody's watching 1 in 8 of my videos, right? So like every 8th video I make on average goes for 100,000 views. Everything else is like 5,000, 10,000. That means you guys aren't watching them. You're waiting for For You page to send it to you. And TikTok thinks you want to see a particular video. They don't know what you want to see. So they send you trash. Get rid of all the people you're following. That's the number one way to do it. Go to your follower list and reduce the number of people you're following. Just go through it. You'll find a bunch of trash in there. You'll be like, oh, I don't follow this guy. Just start get rid of people. And then the videos will come up more often. That's the number one way to cut it down to like, I challenge you. Cut it down to follow like 300 people. Cut it and follow 100 people. I follow 129 people. I see everything from the people I follow because it always comes up. That's how you do it. And then I only watch what I'm following. I never watch my For You page. I keep it in the middle, right? There's STEM, there's following, and then there's FYP. I just go to following. And I just want to see what the people I follow, what they create. And that's how you don't miss videos. Do you think Michigan covers 50? No. They're not running up the score. Graduated from Minnesota last year. Good friends with their number one wide receiver and tight end. They are all in on the freshman running back and having the older running backs on the team mentor him. For sure. James Womack, what's NC in the house? What's up? North Carolina's in the house? Word. Chase Sommer says, short list on who you'd hire to replace Mel. Yeah, Jim Leonhard. Jim Lionheart Leonard. I like Jim Leonard, former interim coach for Wisconsin last year. Former Wisconsin secondary guy, defensive coordinator. I like Jim Leonard. I would hire him. I'm sure they're going to pick somebody else, but that's where I would go. See, you're live. Not going to be able to watch till later, but got to ask about Washington. Rewind the show. Washington's going to stomp them. Go for it. Do you know who Wardell Mack is? A 4-star DB out of New Orleans. Try not to watch too many 4-star anybody. Don't know Wardell Mack. You can send me a DM. I'll look at his video. But at this very moment, I don't worry about recruiting rankings or recruits. I'm focused on the actual players on the field right now. Who do you think is the best running back in the Big 10? Braylon Allen. Thoughts on the Terps? Look good. I like them. 4th or 5th best team in the conference. Dylan Thieneman is a stud. I made a video on him today. True freshman starter, 3-star guy at Purdue. Put on the tape, guys. Go watch this kid. He's everywhere. He's doing it. Already 2 interceptions on the season, leading the team in tackles. He's a leader. He's going to be a team captain for 3 years in a row. He's just so good. And they say he dominates in the weight room, pound for pound, strongest guy on the team. Like, that's amazing. He's on the top of every board. That guy's it. And his 2 brothers were walk-ons, became team captains, were complete studs. Shout out to Dylan. With the amount of revenue flooding into this conference, how is it only the Elite 3 compete at the highest level? No other teams are contending for Big Ten national titles. Why? Well, J-Lo, the reality is every conference has 3 teams that get love from the polls. You can't compete for anything without being at the top of the polls. It's really hard to recruit all the kids and get all the kids when you're not a top 10 team. The kids don't want to play for a team that's not top 10. There's levels to this, right? The other thing is your recruiting base. Where are you getting your kids from? There's only so many good kids to go around. So where are you getting your kids from? Are there amazing kids in Indiana? I'm just curious. You win the Indiana State title. Are you as good as the kids from Texas? No. There's better athletes in other states. So if you're getting all the best players from Ohio, shout out to Cincinnati, because Ohio State recruits nationally. Michigan recruits nationally. Penn State recruits nationally. All these other teams got to recruit regionally. Indiana starting quarterback Tevin Jackson is a state champ in Indiana. Minnesota's getting kids from Michigan that are left over from the directional Michigans and from Michigan Wolverines. It's just the region you're in. It's where you're located. And that's why they're not competing at the highest level. All right, if you recruit nationally, you get to compete at the highest level. Shout out to Georgia. As soon as Georgia started recruiting nationally, they're winning national titles. Georgia did not win national titles because they own the state of Georgia. It's not how it works. They went and got a unicorn at tight end and Brock Bowers from California. They just got a running back, Roderick Robinson, from California. Right? Bryce Young, California. You got to go national if you want to compete for national championships. That's how it's done. And Georgia's losing the state of Georgia. They don't care. Alabama and Clemson and South Carolina cleaning up Georgia, getting all the best players in Georgia. Georgia don't care because they're going national, and that's how it is up north. So, yeah, you can get all that money in your conference, but if you don't have the player base in your region, you got to go national, and some of them can't do that. Purdue can't do that. Illinois can't do that. Minnesota can't do that. Maryland is just hitting the DMV as best they can, and they're fighting Penn State for every single one of those guys, and they're fighting the ACC for every single one of those guys. It's the reality of the situation. Do you also think Cam Newton was never good, just a product of Ken Dorsey? I wouldn't say Cam Newton was never good. I've just never been a fan of Cam Newton, and I thought Ken Dorsey elevated him to MVP status. My friends give me hell when I say Josh Allen is not top 5. Thank you, Rico. Yeah, get new friends. Alec Lucero says, why didn't Braylon Allen get very many carries? Did he get hurt? No. They went with the hot hand. They were stacking the box. No, he didn't get hurt. They just gave it a chance. They just felt like that was a better option. Louisville cover over IU. I talked about it yesterday. It just scares me. IU's got a good defense, got a good scheme. Louisville's not hitting on all cylinders all the time. Talked about it. Rewind the show. I really like Iowa in the West Division this year. Congratulations, you and a lot of people. Syracuse versus Purdue. Feel like I should stay away, but I'm very confident Q's will win. Your thoughts? Stay away. Streets are saying Illinois money line versus Penn State. Get off the streets. Stay home. That's a crazy street. Illinois is not good. Is it still called the Big 10 next year? That's the name of it. They've been the Big 11 for a long time. They've had 11 teams. They still call them the Big 10. Louisville versus Indiana. Rewind the show. I would not take it. Purdue is pretty good on prime time, and it's a sold-out night game. Washington State versus – sorry, chat just jumped on me, guys. Give me a second. Got to go back. Apologies. It does this to me about 3 times a night. Oh, here we go. I will not take it. Michigan State versus Washington predictions. Rewind the show. Rewind the show. We got 6 minutes left. I'll be hitting all the super chats once time runs out. Rico, do you think Louisville covers against Indiana? Talked about it yesterday on the ACC show. I said they would, and then as I thought about it more today, I just don't feel comfortable even giving a recommendation on that game. I probably wouldn't bet on that game. Personally, I wouldn't. Which Pac-12 teams wanting to join the Big 10 do you think can be competitive? All of them? Do you like Noah Kim? I don't know Noah Kim. I don't know him. Just ordered a want to see a dead body shirt. Can't wait to get it. There you go, Nathan Vass. Shout out to you, man. I appreciate it. Thoughts on Maryland, Dylan Flam. Talked about him multiple times. JJ's completion percentage is insane. A lot of that is because the boxes are full. 8 guys in the box trying to stop the run. So you got one-on-one options outside. Your receivers are better than a lot of the players that are covering them at this moment. So, yeah, his completion percentage looks like that. Michigan's been playing really well. I'm not sure why everyone is saying this. They're very underwhelming on tape. Watch the tape. They're very underwhelming. Cali will beat Washington. Okay. Do you think Devin Brown transfers after losing the starting job? If so, do you have any thoughts on Lincoln Kineholz and Aaron Nolan? So Lincoln Kineholz, the South Dakota kid who's never lost a game in high school, I like him. He sounds like a fairy tale. Aaron Nolan, I've watched him play a lot of football here in Georgia. Plays at Hughes, Langston Hughes High. I'm not impressed with Aaron Nolan. He's just another kid who's been surrounded by nothing but great players his whole career, and you win every game because everybody around you is better than the people you're playing against. So I'm not even sure how to assess Aaron Nolan's talent. I know that they lost last week, so that wasn't good. But or 2 weeks ago now. I don't know if Devin Brown transfers. I don't ever speculate. I don't do that. I just report it after it happens. Do you know? Don't ever repeat your questions. Your friends don't know, but Brandon knows. Shout out to Brandon. Jay Solomon says, Rico, do a round robin with all your locks so you can still win something if all don't hit. No thanks. I mean, you can. You can do whatever you want. I don't know. SH Cryptic says, you think Michigan State can possibly upset Washington? No. No, not a chance in hell. I also don't gamble, guys. I live in Georgia. There's no gambling here. Let me know your thoughts on Indiana this week versus Louisville. I know you're high on them. I'm high on Louisville, but I don't feel comfortable with it. I've already talked about it many times. Have you got around to watching AR yet? AR? Anthony Richardson? What are we talking about? Arkansas? Do you like Penn State to cover the spread this week? I do. I can hear you fine. Thank you very much. Michigan State will not beat Washington. No chance. Correct. I hear you fine. Volume's fine. Thank you, Good Mattress. Corey Sigmon, he said earlier that he initially thought Louisville should cover. But now, yep, there you go. Cryptic said, people also said in 2021 there was no chance that Michigan State would beat Michigan. Yeah. Okay. Cameron Kurtz, blue chip ratios are real. Blue chip ratio is a thing that will no longer exist, guys. Blue chip ratio will not matter. Blue chip ratio almost doesn't matter today. Understand this. Blue chip ratio, Cameron Kurtz, I hate to break it to everybody. Blue chip ratio is irrelevant because the transfer portal. You don't have to recruit blue chippers. You can just get them from the transfer portal, and you can bridge that gap. So it doesn't matter what your recruiting classes say and are. You're going to lose all those guys. Let me give you an example. Auburn got a blue chip ratio in their recruiting class in 2021. 3 of those guys are still on the team. Everybody else is gone. Literally 3 players are left from that recruiting class. Oregon had the 6th best recruiting class in 2021. 6th in the nation. 14 of those guys hit the portal in the last 2 years. They're all gone. Your recruiting class's ranking and blue chip ratio is irrelevant with the transfer portal. You used to be able to stockpile blue chip ratio players, and it made a difference on your roster and on your team. I think it'll take about 3 years before we see a non-blue chip ratio team win the national title. And then from that point forward, it will no longer be a thing. It was a thing. It was relevant for many, many years. Not anymore. And it's slowly going away. Like if you look at Florida State has no blue chip ratio from their recruiting classes. But they are one of the best teams in America because every single starter is a transfer. And they're a beast-ass transfer. Florida State's highest rated player doesn't even play for them. They haven't had a 5-star in 6 years. The blue chip ratio is obsolete. The whole premise. And everybody who quotes it every year and talks about it, they're ignorant to the process. It's obsolete moving forward. You heard it here first. Don't forget it. I'll make an I Am Right video about it in the future. I will. And I'll come back to this post. And I'll come back to this. I'm going to make a note of this show. I write notes. And I will tell you guys when I was right. Because it's going to happen. Blue chip ratio is not a thing anymore. Michigan State kept up with Washington last season, and they were at Washington. They were way worse than this season. I think at home they can upset Washington. Then Addy, congratulations. Do your thing. Appreciate it, Harp. Nathan Carter's going to go off. There you go. Bet on Michigan. They will beat Washington. Michigan State, you mean. Shout out to you. Rico, why are Duke 18.5-point favorites now? Because Northwestern won their game pretty handedly, and people think they're going to be okay. People are putting money on Northwestern. When you see a line move, it's because of money being put on the other team, not because Vegas thinks this other team is going to do it. Vegas does not move the line because of what they think. They move the line to ensure they make money or don't lose money based upon the amount of bets being placed on the two teams. So when it was at 20, people were putting money on Northwestern to cover that spread. The more money getting put on Northwestern forces the line to go down because we can't pay you out. Or the vice versa, right? More money being put on Duke. People go, hey, we need to increase this line. We can't let Duke, people who bet on Duke, we can't let them win. We got to increase this more. Get it? Okay. That's how it works. It's 7 o'clock. We're going to go look for Super Chats and call it a night, y'all. Appreciate you. Minnesota is a better team than they looked. What do you think of North Carolina game? I think I talked about that and answered it. Thank you to Sadhu Kane for the 99 cents. Appreciate the Super Chat. Gopher Guy, thank you very much. Appreciate the Super Chat. Everybody else talking. Thank you so much. Digital Assets, Jared. Good to see you again, brother. A constant supporter of the channel. We appreciate you from the bottom of our heart. I really do. Thank you so much. Hey, guys, just remember, stop talking sports with your friends because your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Peace, y'all.
I've only seen from time to time in my dreams. I do this for you. I do this for my mother, who's finally clean and no longer a fan. I do this for you. I do this for my sister, my wife and my kids, cause they part of the team. I do this for all the naysayers and haters who made me one of the greatest. I know it kills you inside, that's why I do this for you. I do this for my father, who I've only seen from time to time in my dreams. I do this for you. I do this for my mother, who's finally clean and no longer a fan. I do this for you. I do this for my sister, my wife and my kids, cause they part of the team. I do this for all the naysayers and haters who made me one of the greatest. I know it kills you inside, that's why I do this for you.
I do this for the kids who sit a bit outside the mix, who maybe cope through humor just to fit in for a bit, who never let the world know when depression's setting in. To all of those who know you, that impression don't exist, and it ain't counterfeit, it's just a way to counter it. I'm living things I dreamed about, I still encounter it. It ain't something that a cigarette or alcohol can fix, but all